That's good. You sure you ain't the smartest guy in the world?
Okay, look, you want to solve this problem, I want to get my pardon, so why don't we just try it, okay? And not worry about what plants crave.
Brenda's got what?
Yeah, it's got electrolytes. What are electrolytes? Do you even know?
Well, they did it this time, didn't they? The ghost of John McCain lives. Iran has been bombed again. We'll talk about it, folks. Mike Churchill, we're live. Asking the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the first galactic empire. For a safe and secure society.
Oh, you can't.
So I'm calling on Congress to pass these reforms, and I'm going to sign them into law.
Oh, you're not.
Down the thunder will now you got.
You tell them I'm coming, and hell's coming with me, you hear? Hell's coming with me!
All righty, our call-in line telephone number, if you'd like to be on the program today, 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. Email address, same as it ever has been. I am KingDude at protonmail.com. I am KingDude at protonmail.com. And Crusader Stadium chat room is open for your commentary today, and I'm sure it's all about war, bomb, bomb. Kill, because it certainly is happening and is still going on as we speak. We'll update you on that as the program gets underway. It is a Monday. Boy, howdy, is it a Monday. We should check in with our flight controllers.
Listen up.
A little late.
Give me a go, no go for launch. Booster.
Go.
Chat room.
Go. Vital.
We're go fly.
YouTube.
Guidance go.
X.
Surgeon.
Go flight.
Recording.
We're go flight.
Telephones.
We're go.
Tell me.
Video.
Control.
Podcast.
Procedures.
Go.
Inco.
Go.
Fax.
FAO.
Transom.
We are go.
Network.
Transcript.
Recovery.
Maggie.
Go.
Capcom.
We're go flight.
Launch control, this is Houston. We are go for launch.
And what a go launch it is here today. So if you just woke up from underneath of a rock, or you were sleeping in a cave and just crawled back to civilization, here is what is happening. The United States of America Saturday launched something called Operation Epic Fury. And in Operation Epic Fury, the country of Iran was the target, again, in case you don't know. And the primary strikes were done by United States aircraft. I'm not saying just the Air Force, because there are naval sailing vessels nearby in the area. Now, the Iranians are reporting that Ayatollah Khamenei is no longer. He is not Ayatollah any longer. He's gone to his reward, probably in hell. Also, apparently, much of his cabinet, if you will, and his support were also taken out. Now, this is what I don't know, and I was trying to find out. And it may be that that kind of reporting is just not out there yet. Not sure how the United States, how we knew where he was. Maggie's saying intelligence, and we're able to take him out. I do know because he's on 60 Minutes. Now it was kind of, I don't want to say odd, but how did Scott Pelley know to interview Prince Pavri? What's his name? Gosh, I never covered the guy before, so forgive me. I know we had the soundbite, don't we?
Yeah, he's the king. It's Rez Pavri.
Rez Pavri. That's a Reza Pahlavi. How did 60 Minutes know to interview Reza Pahlavi? And then ask him about restoring democracy to Iran. Was it prearranged? These are questions I genuinely do not know. Or maybe they just knew that he was available, or maybe they had anticipated that something like this was going to happen, and then they just dispatched Scott Pelley to go do the interview. In any event, Reza Pahlavi is basically saying that he's the only one that can lead the Iranian people because he's the only one that they trust who is a politician that wasn't in on the 1978 coup, which basically installed the murderous regime, as Trump called it, and that has been running the former country of Persia, the country of Iran, since what I think it's 46. Is it 46 or 47 years? So that's one nut, and that's one angle to cover here. I was reading in the Wall Street Journal today. Let me see if I can pull it up. Here's: by striking its neighbors, Iran has deepened the Gulf's resolve to fight back. This is one story at the Wall Street Journal. Diplomats and analysts say Tehran miscalculated with its attacks on Dubai, Doha, and Bahrain. So there were missile strikes, and I don't think that the Iranians got their air force into the air. Now the Iranians also lobbed missiles at the United Arab Emirates, at the country of Qatar, at the country of Bahrain, and at Kuwait. Maybe there was another one. And not sure about the targets that were hit there because the news is still coming in. The Iranians have also closed the Straits of Hormuz. And if you don't know what the Straits of Hormuz are, it is a 33-kilometer wide passage from the, what is that waterway there? We have a little video that we found that it actually does a really good job of explaining why the Straits of Hormuz are important and that the Iranians control them because that little area right there where the kind of the bend is in that waterway, it's 35 kilometers wide. It's not very wide, but the Iranians apparently have the thing like carpeted with missile batteries, so that any ship that would be trying to pass through there, they could just take it out with a torpedo or a missile, what have you here. So all this is going on. Of course, we were driving. We had taken the sisters, the Slaves of the Immaculate Heart, on a little tour of New Orleans on Saturday morning. So when much of this was going on, I guess it was overnight Friday, early Saturday morning, I didn't get the news until because we were kind of preoccupied and no one was talking about it. Well, not in the places where we went anyway. You're getting tours of old Catholic churches and monasteries in New Orleans. War with Iran was not the number one item of discussion. But when I did get out, the Trump video, the 7.5 minute long one, where he starts off where he says, he kind of retraces the history. You know, the history actually goes back farther than that. You know, the history goes back into the... why hasn't someone made a movie about this? It's only my question. About the British involvement in Iran and the establishment of Arab oil, which ultimately becomes BP, British Petroleum, and this kind of cozy, cushy relationship that the English had with the Iranians, where they were getting a lot of their oil. I've actually wondered this. I think we did a show on this, or we've talked about this before. Why did the energy prices are going up all across the UK? Because they foolishly and stupidly thought that they could get most of their energy, like the Germans, from windmills and amoeba farts and every other renewable, sustainable resources and what have you here. As President Trump has been pointing out to them, dudes, you guys are sitting on the third largest oil reserves on Earth in the North Sea. It's not like you don't know where the oil is. So why weren't they exploring for it? Well, apparently because they had the Iranians to do it for them. Well, not sure what happens to that now with the Ayatollah being gone. It's just so many things happening here, so many moving parts. Another thing in regards to that and the Straits of Hormuz being shut down, China and India get almost all their oil, instead of the Japs, from someone in the Gulf. And it passes through the Straits of Hormuz. If they shut it down, if you look at it on a map, so Saudi Arabia is the largest country there in the area, and then you have Iraq and you have Kuwait, which you'll remember back in the first Gulf War, and then you have the United Arab Emirates, and then you have Oman. They're all oil-producing states. I mean, there's oil everywhere there. But the Indians, the country of India, Japan, and China are all 70% or more of the oil that they consume, they get from someone in the Gulf. Most of it passes through the Straits of Hormuz. We'll play you the video next segment. Maggie's showing it on the screen right now. Could you blow that up just a little bit? Okay, that's full screen. You can see the little red area there, and you can see where in that little video there, you could see where the Straits of Hormuz are. Did no one think about this? And by the way, oil futures are what? 10% up right now. It was trading at 75. Closed on Friday at 67, and it's probably going to open today at 70. It's probably going to go through. If the Straits are, there it is. Maggie's got it right there. If that little area right there that you see on your screen, see what's the red? It's okay.
The UAE.
That's the UAE, and the blue is Oman, right?
Yep.
Okay, so you can see right there on your screen, and those little dashed dots, those are the paths of where the oil comes from and where it goes. Like I said, we'll show you. We'll play the video next segment here. Did we not game plan that? And that's a question on my part. That's not a statement. I'm asking. Did we not game plan it? And there had to have been some discussion. Well, what happens if we shut the Straits of Hormuz down? Number one, what happens? You got to tell me what's going to happen here. It's a very volatile situation. You know, the Iranians aren't defenseless. It's not like as though that they don't have armaments and they don't have weapons. You can't be an evil, villainous, murderous regime if you don't have the ability to commit evil and act all regime like and stuff. So all these things are again. I have another question. I agree with my friend John Daniel Davidson. Didn't President Trump just recently say, we wiped it out, we obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities? Well, then, did we have to re-obliterate them? If you obliterated them, if you wiped them out and they reconstituted them in 9 months, because it was last June, right, when the first strike was. So I think that's a fair question to ask. Well, why do you keep saying that you obliterated them, and then you say that we had to do this attack so that we could re-obliterate? Re-annihilate? We Judgment Day? Some of it is very confusing. What are the headlines? Little war. Okay. Now, I'm not able to. This stuff is happening so fast, so I'm not able to confirm everything that everything that I want to talk about today. It's all. I would do much more due diligence on it, so I'm just going to kind of talk about some of. All right. There's no indication, or I haven't heard any indication, that this is a Venezuela situation, and that or an Iraq situation where we're going to go in and establish that this is some sort of regime change, and that the United States is going to go in there and basically take over and install another leader. We have done this before. We've installed leaders, and I forget the year, 1953, 4, 5, somewhere up in there. The Iranians did flirt with this thing called democracy, and they elected this guy named Mossadegh. Mossadegh was democratically or popularly elected, if you will, as the leader of Iran, or whatever capacity that was. I don't think it was president, but Mossadegh was elected, and he was elected on a populist platform. His mission or his campaign was basically like the people of Iran are being ripped off, like Trump would say. The people of Iran are being ripped off by the rest of the world that's stealing our oil, and the people of Iran weren't getting any benefit from it. So British Petroleum was getting all the benefit from it, or was the primary beneficiary. And so they elected this Mossadegh guy. Well, the Brits didn't like that. And so they had to go in and they had to take Mossadegh out. Then they installed the Shah. Well, we installed the Shah of Iran. All right. We'll continue in a moment.
Talk radio shaken.
Too many free radicals.
Free radicals, sir?
Too much red meat and white bread. And too many dry martinis.
Not stirred.
Then I shall cut out the white bread, sir.
Truth never dies on the Veritas Radio Network's Crusade.
This is a pixel.
I'm through.
If you put a couple of million of these guys together, you can make a sentence on an LED screen. Put a couple of billion of them together, and you can make a whole page. Put 360 billion, and you've got Joseph Pierce's A History of True England. But it doesn't smell like a history of true England, and it burns teeny little holes in your cornea. So, is the pixel really your friend?
I'm through.
No Groot, but the Founders Trading Post is your friend. And we have actual books with actual smelly pages. Plus, our little bookstore has everything you'd expect.
I'm through.
Yep, we got Sacred Heart flags, Groot, but no to the One Tree Hill sappy guitar music.
Pick up a copy of Joseph Pierce's True History of England, plus a dozen other Joseph Pierce titles at shop.mychurch.com.
Hi, folks, it's Mike Church, founder of Founding Father Films, asking you to learn the true stories of America's founding by purchasing my movie, The Spirit of 76. The Spirit of 76 details the true story of the writing and ratifying of the U.S. Constitution.
Who authorized them to speak the language of we, the people, instead of we, the states? States are the characteristics and the soul of a confederation. If the states be not the agents of this compact, it must be one great...
This animated movie comes complete with collector's booklets, DTS surround sound, and is packed with hours of bonus features. Learn the true stories of America's founding and order Mike Church's The Spirit of 76 on a 2-DVD or 3-CD set. Available now at mikechurch.com/DVD and by calling 844-527-8723.
It's a good old-fashioned party line, white picket fence, chap and gadfest that we call The Midday Show. With your hostess from across the pond, Fiorella De Maria. Exclusively here on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and chat radio the way it should be.
Hey, it's Mike Church with another adventure in Stuff You Really Don't Need to Know. The difference between an antidote and an anecdote. One is a cure for something that's poisoned you, like a corona hoax vaccination, and the other is a short accounting of facts, something the aforementioned vaccine has almost none of. Here's another anecdote for you. The flag of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is also known as the Carillon de Sacré-Cœur, or the original flag of Quebec. And did you know that our Founders Trading Post is the exclusive maker and distributor of this one-of-a-kind, full-size, beautiful flag right here in America? Yep. Order a Sacred Heart flag right now and take $5 off and get a matching Sacred Heart flag bumper sticker for free. Don't cost nothing. Hurry, spring is coming and supplies are limited. To order, go to mikechurch.com/flag or call us 844-527-8723.
What's the difference between your average day late dollar short podcast and the Mike Church Show live? About the same as between the new Walker, Texas Homo and Walt Longmire.
The word is about. There's something evolving. Whatever may come, the world keeps revolving. They say the next big thing is here, that the revolution's near. But to me it seems quite clear that it's all just a little bit of history repeating.
That history repeats itself again. 3 Americans have been killed, at least 3, according to President Trump, in Operation Epic Fury. So Mike Church Show here on a Monday. I'm trying to put all of this into perspective for everyone here. Basically, it's not just the Straits of Hormuz that are shut down. The Middle East is pretty much standstill right now. Because there's drones. You know, the Iranians were either the largest or one of the largest manufacturers of drones. I don't think that is a secret. And they specialize in manufacturing the kind that are weaponized or that can carry weapons and can be used to bomb things or blow things up. So the Iranians dispatched all manner of drones to go strike targets in the other Middle Eastern countries. Now, Saudi Arabia has an air force. We know this because they have our planes. So they're not defenseless, but there are oil wells apparently that are now burning in Saudi Arabia.
So it's not just the Straits of Hormuz that are now closed in Operation Epic Fury. It's basically the Middle East. So today, you can expect that oil prices around the world are going to go up. Now, I don't know why this would have any impact on us. We don't need any of their oil. We don't need a drop of it. We've got more than enough here. Plus, you've got the Venezuelans selling oil now, and there may have already had some of that oil may have already been transferred here. So you have two oil markets. You have Brent crude, which is the English stuff, and then or the stuff that comes from the North Sea, and then you have WTI, which is West Texas Intermediate. And then I want to say that there's another oil market. So it's not just one oil market. So would the price of oil across the world go up? Well, yeah, it would, because they're reliant on oil that you get from the Middle East. The Indians, the Pakis, the Chinese, and the Japanese don't have any oil. And I got to get it all from them. So that is the situation that is fluid. By the way, we checked this out now. 60 Minutes did release a statement. They said that they got the interview with Reza Pahlavi because of the riots and the unrest that have been going on in Iran, anticipating that there may be some sort of a revolution or a revolutionary change. Maggie, we still don't know. And I searched for it this morning, so I guess just be on the lookout. How Khomeini and his cabinet were taken out, but they're gone. So who's running Iran? I don't know. It's a good, fair question. 844-527-8723. If you missed the announcement, play digital media file number 1. Oh, by the way, because I am going to talk about this a bit.
They struck his compound.
Okay, so I guess that his compound was known, or where his compound was, or where his hideout, or was, wasn't he like he's a villain? So doesn't he? You wouldn't call it a compound. When you call it a lair, he struck his lair. So, why did Keir Starmer, why did he dash out to go make he's done 2 now, to go make an announcement? What stake does the UK have in this? The UK does get some oil from the Gulf, region, or from the Middle East, as it were. Some of it passes through the Straits of Hormuz, but I don't think it's their primary supplier. But BP was still getting oil out of Iran. So there's something. The English component is important, I think. Play the Trump statement. The first one that was from Saturday. So this is what was announced. So most of you have, if you're news junkies, you already know. You probably heard this. Some of you may have heard it in real time. But this was basically, well, I'll let him explain.
A short time ago, the United States military began major combat operations in Iran. Our objective is to defend the American people by eliminating imminent threats from the Iranian regime, a vicious group of very hard, terrible people. Its menacing activities directly endanger the United States, our troops, our bases overseas, and our allies throughout the world. For 47 years, the Iranian regime has chanted death to America and waged an unending campaign of bloodshed and mass murder, targeting the United States, our troops, and the innocent people in many, many countries. Among the regime's very first acts was to back a violent takeover of the U.S. Embassy in Tehran, holding dozens of American hostages for 444 days. In 1983, Iran's proxies carried out the Marine barracks bombing in Beirut that killed 241 American military personnel. In 2000, they knew and were probably involved with the attack on the USS Cole. Many died. Iranian forces killed and maimed hundreds of American service members in Iraq. The regime's proxies have continued to launch countless attacks against American forces stationed in the Middle East in recent years, as well as U.S. naval and commercial vessels in international shipping lanes. It's been mass terror, and we're not going to put up with it any longer. From Lebanon to Yemen and Syria to Iraq, the regime has armed, trained, and funded terrorist militias that have soaked the earth with blood and guts. And it was Iran's proxy, Hamas, that launched the monstrous October 7th attacks on Israel, slaughtering more than 1,000 innocent people, including 46 Americans, while taking 12 of our citizens hostage. It was brutal, something like the world has never seen before. Iran is the world's #1 state sponsor of terror and just recently killed tens of thousands of its own citizens on the street as they protested. It has always been the policy of the United States, in particular, my administration, that this terrorist regime can never have a nuclear weapon. I'll say it again. They can never have a nuclear weapon. That is why in Operation Midnight Hammer last June, we obliterated the regime's nuclear program at Fordow, Natanz, and Isfahan. After that attack, we warned them never to resume their malicious pursuit of nuclear weapons, and we sought repeatedly to make a deal. We tried. They wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. Again, they wanted to do it. They didn't want to do it. They didn't know what was happening. They just wanted to practice evil. But Iran refused, just as it has for decades and decades. They've rejected every opportunity to renounce their nuclear ambitions, and we can't take it anymore. Instead, they attempted to rebuild their nuclear program and to continue developing long-range missiles that can now threaten our very good friends and allies in Europe, our troops stationed overseas, and could soon reach the American homeland. Just imagine how emboldened this regime would be if they ever had and actually were armed with nuclear weapons as a means to deliver their message. For these reasons, the United States military is undertaking a massive and ongoing operation to prevent this very wicked, radical dictatorship from threatening America and our core national security interests. We are going to destroy their missiles and raise their missile industry to the ground. It will be totally, again, obliterated. We're going to annihilate their Navy. We're going to ensure that the region's terrorist proxies can no longer destabilize the region or the world and attack our forces and no longer use their IEDs or roadside bombs, as they are sometimes called, to so gravely wound and kill thousands and thousands of people, including many Americans. And we will ensure that Iran does not obtain a nuclear weapon. It's a very simple message. They will never have a nuclear weapon. This regime will soon learn that no one should challenge the strength and might of the United States Armed Forces. I built and rebuilt our military in my first administration, and there is no military on earth even close to its power, strength, or sophistication. My administration has taken every possible step to minimize the risk to U.S. personnel in the region. Even so, and I do not make this statement lightly, the Iranian regime seeks to kill. The lives of courageous American heroes may be lost, and we may have casualties. That often happens in war. But we're doing this not for now. We're doing this for the future, and it is a noble mission. We pray for every service member as they selflessly risk their lives to ensure that Americans and our children will never be threatened by a nuclear-armed Iran. We ask God to protect all of our heroes in harm's way, and we trust that, with his help, the men and women of the armed forces will prevail. We have the greatest in the world, and they will prevail. To the members of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard, the armed forces, and all of the police, I say tonight that you must lay down your weapons and have complete immunity, or, in the alternative, face certain death. So, lay down your arms. You will be treated fairly with total immunity, or you will face certain death. Finally, to the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand.
Important.
Stay sheltered. Don't leave your home. It's very dangerous outside. Bombs will be dropping everywhere. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations. For many years, you have asked for America's help, but you never got it. No president was willing to do what I am willing to do tonight. Now you have a president who is giving you what you want. So let's see how you respond. America is backing you with overwhelming strength and devastating force. Now is the time to seize control of your destiny and to unleash the prosperous and glorious future that is close within your reach. This is the moment for action. Do not let it pass. May God bless the brave men and women of America's armed forces. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless you all.
All right. He obviously thinks that the Iranian people are going to take over that government. Now, I am not an international affairs expert. I don't know anyone who's ever traveled to Iran because it's not a place that most Americans go. But I do know this, and Maggie, we have talked about this before. If you went to a library and you found a 1965 to 1975, somewhere up in there, you can find copies of Life magazine, where they sent reporters to Tehran to take pictures of it because it was a vacation destination. It was in the Middle East because of its climate and because of its geography. It is a very picturesque country, if you will. It's Persia. It's ancient Persia. So prior to the Ayatollah and prior to the Islamic Republic, there was some sort of democracy there, and it was certainly at least some places were westernized, and women were dressing the fashion as you would see them dressing in London or in New York City. So my point is that the Islamic Republic was a takeover. You know, people forget about this. You know, we were talking about the 1980 U.S. men's hockey team. What else was going on while that hockey team was playing? Hostages. What was it, 444 days, I want to say? When the radical nutbag Islamics took over took over Iran and then took over the American embassy and they captured all of those hostages that were held. Do you remember this? Ben Affleck, who was actually one of the better films that he's ever made, actually made a movie about it. What was it called? It's How They Got Out. It's how the Americans ultimately escaped, and it was called Argo. Argo, that's right, because that was the operation. It was Operation Argo, or that was maybe that was the film company. That there was a plot basically, and they pretended like they were sending a film crew in there to go make some movie, a propaganda film, basically, that the Iranians were approved of, and the whole thing was a cover for to go and to try and free the hostages. But Trump mentioned this in the beginning of his speech. People may have forgotten about these. Look, no one should mourn the passing of the Islamic Republic or the Ayatollah. I sure as hell don't. That doesn't mean that I wanted to send American forces in there to go kill them, but that apparently was done in a strike. Here's something else that you got to consider. An Orthodox Muslim lunatic, armed, and wearing a sweatshirt that said Allah rules. Is that what it said? Is it Allah something? Property of Allah. That's what it was, property. You get the sweatshirt with the block lettering on it, property of such and such gym or whatever. So the property of Allah goes through an area in Texas. Do we know where that shooting was? He murdered 2 people, and 14 others are injured. Ladies and gentlemen, didn't George Webb come on this show and say, after Matthew Thomas Crooks tried to kill President or campaigning for the presidency, Donald Trump, former President Trump, didn't George Webb come on this show and say that the Iranians had snipers in the U.S.? And that there was more than one sniper cell, and that because the Biden regime had admitted so many millions upon millions of illegal aliens in, many of them young Middle Eastern men of warfighting age. Don't be surprised if there's not some activity from radical nutbag Muslims in the United States. In retaliation, they had a TV show once upon a time called Sleeper Cell. And it was based on the idea that we're going to fight the terrorists over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Bull. They're already here. By the way, I got this from Dreher. This is some guy on Twitter called Dr. Malouf. This is posted yesterday. Islamic imam in Texas. What did I tell you the other day about Mamdani? Of course, Mamdani came out and condemned immediately the strike on the Iranians and the taking out of the Ayatollah. What did we talk about the other day? The caliphate. That the Muslims didn't go away. They weren't defeated. Islam is not defeated. It certainly isn't defeated in Turkey and in the ancient Ottoman Empire. They were running, the Islamic Republic was basically running the government of Iran because of our stupid, foolish actions in Syria and moving Bashar Assad out of the way. Some faction of some Islamic lunatic republic has now taken shape in Syria. So it's not as though Islam and the caliphate aren't ascendant. So this clip here says Mamdani was a victory for the Ummah. Now listen to this. This is an imam in Texas, where apparently it has gotten so volatile that Attorney General Ken Paxton, with the permission of Governor Greg Abbott, has basically said that the Council on American Islamic Relations, CAIR, is a terrorist organization and is no longer allowed to conduct activities inside the state of Texas. And Greg Abbott then came out and had Paxton issue an order of sorts that said that no one in the Dallas-Fort Worth area was bound by what the imams there, who apparently are ascendant, were saying is Sharia law. So there's a huge problem right here in the United States and certainly in Texas. My old buddy Andy McCarthy's book, The Grand Jihad, the first chapter of The Grand Jihad begins in Texas, where apparently the Muslims have a significant population. They're throwing mosques up all over the place. I was reading. But in any event, this is a quote now. Quote, Mamdani was a victory for the Ummah. We didn't succeed in conquering Vienna by the sword for 200 years. And now it's 20% Muslim. We need to enlarge the Muslim population in America just like we did in Europe. And then Dr. Malouf says, Texas, you got a problem. And your problem is Islamics. Here, let me take you to the pages of the Wall Street Journal. I have a subscription on your behalf. So they actually have a ticker at the top of the page, and it is a live news wire, what's going on with the Middle East, or with the war. 4 minutes ago, IAEA chief refutes Iran claim Natanz nuclear facility attacked. 11 minutes ago, Iran has no structured program to build nuclear weapons. The IAEA says, again, if we obliterated that threat, well then, why was it necessary to re-obliterate it or to re-annihilate it, as the president said? 15 minutes ago, something's just not calculating here with me. 4th U.S. service member killed in action now. 15 minutes ago. 18 minutes ago, Iran attacks military and industrial sites in Middle East. And then 28 minutes ago, Israel kills senior Iranian intelligence officials. And those are the headlines at the Wall Street Journal today. Of course, as we said, since this is happening in real time, we'll update you as it goes along. Some other headlines, just going through the stack here, and it's a tall stack today. Marco Rubio and America alone. America at AM greatness here. I still want to know. Why we had to go and re-annihilate? That's me. That's a huge question. We'll talk about it.
I never believed in things that I couldn't see. I said if I can't feel it, how could it be? No magic could happen to me. And then I saw you, I couldn't believe it. You took my heart, I couldn't retrieve it. Said to myself, what's it all about? Now I know there can be no doubt. You can do magic. You can have anything that you desire. And you know you're the one who can put out the fire. You know darn well when you cast your spell, you will get your way. When you hypnotize with your eyes, the heart of stone can turn to clay. Sleep again, you come to me. I hold you tight and the rain disappears. Who would believe?
The Crusade Channel, talk radio the way it should be. Broadcasting live from Madisonville, Louisiana, and streaming 24/7 at crusadechannel.com. The Crusade Channel, your news talk and Mike Church show station. The King Dude rules the airwaves because the airwaves need ruling. Live, 7 to 11 a.m. Eastern on crusadechannel.com.
Silver and gold. In these turbulent times, buying silver and gold is such a no-brainer that even snowmen know they should do it. Now, all precious metal dealers claim to be the best, but only one can claim they are endorsed by the King Dude, and that's Miles Franklin. My friend Andy Scheckman's a regular guest on my show and a regular genius when it comes to silver and gold, and I trust him with my silver and gold purchases, and so should you. So email Miles Franklin today for your exclusive Mike Church
Church Show discount price list. Info at milesfranklin.com. Hi, folks. It's Mike Church, founder of Founding Father Films, asking you to learn the true stories of America's founding by purchasing my movie, The Road to Independence, the movie. The Road to Independence tells the exciting story of the Founding Fathers' struggle to declare independence.
Yes, of course. The defense of the Redcoats in the so-called Boston Massacre is...
John!
Not now, dear. Not now.
Dear, have you considered this defense of yours is going to separate you from our friends?
Separate us from friends?
This animated movie comes complete with collector's booklets, DTS surround sound, and are packed with hours of bonus features. Learn the true stories of America's founding and order Mike Church's The Road to Independence on DVD and CD. Available now at mikechurch.com/DVD and by calling 844-527-8723.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for Capuchin Holy Roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Capuchin Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com. And now an exclusive behind-the-scenes look into the Mike Church Show.
You see, what I think we need are new imaging commercials, Jim. Can you help and give me some ad-lib imaging lines we can use to, attract some new subscribers?
Okay, Oh, I know. If there's nothing else to do, listen to the Mike Church Show now.
Dude.
Or no. How about
Dude.
Mike Church and Lee are really smart,
Jim,
so tune in.
Enough! Okay, Lee, you're in!
Coming, Coach.
Now entering the game, number 11, Trader Jill Lee.
If only there were backups in real life.
Okay, King Dude. What MAGA moms want to hear on the radio is how their sons can become productive, strong men, and how their daughters cannot be killed on trains by the lunatic criminals paroled by radical leftist judges.
Right? That's a good one, Lee. Hey, Jim, how about some Gatorade for Lee?
Okay.
Thanks, Coach. I'm really working up a sweat here. Okay. How about making a spot about the new app? It's so easy, even a boomer can use it.
Perfect. I know just the boomer. Hey, Jim, where's that Gatorade, bro?
My debit card's stuck in the machine again. From boomers to zoomers, the Mike Church Show is America's morning show. Weekdays, 7 to 11 a.m., exclusively on the Crusade Channel app and crusadechannel.com. It's not tape or a Post-it or a candy bar, but this new 3M
is the freshest spin on true crime shows since dinosaurs were solving cold cases with fossil evidence. Yeah, it's that original, folks.
Mom's Murders and Mysteries. New episodes debut every Tuesday night, 6:30 East, 4 West, exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Live talk podcast radio, the way it should be. Okay, please enter the 9-digit 2-step authorization code we just emailed you. Jeez. What do you mean, prove I'm human? Okay, that's a car. That's a car. That's a car. Those are not cars. Please try again. Oh my gosh. I'll show you. Try again, stupid piece of AI mother. Here, try this.
Jim, what are you doing? Good grief, man. This isn't Office Space the movie. What are you trying to do?
I just wanted to send the King Dude a donation through the stupid computer.
Like Trump, the King Dude makes everything better, including donating, which you can now do by mail.
Mail? They still have that?
Of course they do, and the King Dude's keeping the ponies running on time and in business. Just snail mail your donation to P.O. Box 400, Madisonville, Louisiana, 70447.
Ha! And you can't. You're such a boomer. Me this time. And wait a minute. I know they're around here somewhere. There! Ha-ha!
Dude, those are airmail stamps from the movie Airplane.
Surely you have.
Of course I do. And don't call me Shirley. The Crusade Radio Guild is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation, so your donations are tax deductible. Donate today. The Crusade Radio Guild, P.O. Box 400, Madisonville, Louisiana 70447. The Crusade Channel, your news talk and Mike Church Show station. The King Dude rules the airwaves because the airwaves need ruling. Live, 7 to 11 a.m. Eastern on CrusadeChannel.com.
The Mike Church Show. Serving the hard liquor of truth to men who want to get drunk fast. Since 1992.
I'd like to talk a little bit about the war in the Persian Gulf. Big doings in the Persian Gulf. You know my favorite part of that war? It's the first war we ever had that was on every channel plus cable. And the war got good ratings too, didn't it? Got good ratings. Well, we like war. We like war. We're a warlike people. We like war because we're good at it. And you know why we're good at it? Because we get a lot of practice. This country's only 200 years old, and already we've had 10 major wars. We average a major war every 20 years in this country, so we're good at it. And it's a good thing we are. We're not very good at anything else anymore. Huh? Can't build a decent car, can't make a TV set or a VCR worth of Got no steel industry left, can't educate our young people, can't get health care to our old people, but we can bomb the shit out of your country, all right? Huh? We can bomb the shit out of your country, all right? Especially if your country is full of brown people. Oh, we like that, don't we? That's our hobby. That's our new job in the world, bombing brown people. Iraq, Panama, Grenada, Libya, you got some brown people in your country. Tell them to watch the f*** out, or we'll goddamn bomb them. Well, when's the last white people you can remember that we bombed? Can you remember the last white? Can you remember any white people we've ever bombed? The Germans, those are the only ones, and that's only because they were trying to cut in on our action. They wanted to dominate the world. Bullshit, that's our f***ing job.
You got me coming with answers all of which I deny. I said it again, but could I please rephrase it? Maybe I can catch a ride. I couldn't really put it much plainer, but I'll wait till you decide. Send me your warning siren, as if I could ever hide. Last time, la la la, I light my torch and wave it for the new moon.
All right, welcome back. Mike Church Show here on a Monday. We are live. You gotta believe me when I tell you, I don't want to be here talking about war today and bombing whoever we're bombing, and the Iranians and American soldiers dying for whatever. Whatever is going on here, there is a press conference that is just started here. I paused it just like 2.5 minutes ago. So for all, as Peppermint Zaki would say, for all practical intensive purposes, it's live. So it's at the Pentagon. Haig sits at the podium, so we'll get a live update. Here you go.
Fantastic job. 2 days ago, under the direction and direct orders of President Donald J. Trump, the Department of War launched Operation Epic Fury, the most lethal, most complex, and most precise aerial operation in history. For 47 long years, the expansionist and Islamist regime in Tehran has waged a savage, one-sided war against America. They didn't always declare it openly, except for their constant chants of death to America. They did it through the blood of our people. Car bombs in Beirut, rocket attacks on our ships, murders at our embassies, roadside bombs in Iraq and Afghanistan, funded and armed by Iranian Quds Force and IRGC killers. My generation of veterans carry the names of brothers who never came home. Brothers butchered by Iranian-backed roadside bombs and well-armed militias, thousands of our own. We didn't start this war, but under President Trump, we are finishing it. Their war on Americans has become our retribution against their Ayatollah and his death cult. It took the 47th president, a fighter who always puts America first, to finally draw the line after 47 years of Iranian belligerence. He reminded the world, as he has time and time again, being an American means something unbreakable. If you kill Americans, if you threaten Americans anywhere on earth, we will hunt you down without apology and without hesitation, and we will kill you. President Trump has also been very consistent. Crazy regimes like Iran, hell-bent on prophetic Islamist delusions, cannot have nuclear weapons. It's common sense. Many have said it, but it takes guts to actually enforce it, and our president has guts. Iran's stubborn and self-evident nuclear pursuits, their targeting of global shipping lanes, and their swelling arsenal of ballistic missiles and killer drones are no longer tolerable risks. Iran was building powerful missiles and drones to create a conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Let me say that again. A conventional shield for their nuclear blackmail ambitions. Our bases, our people, our allies, all in their crosshairs. Iran had a conventional gun to our head as they tried to lie their way to a nuclear bomb. It almost worked under Obama and his terrible deal, but not under this president. Turns out the regime who chanted death to America and death to Israel was gifted death from America and death from Israel. This is not a so-called regime change war, but the regime sure did change, and the world is better off for it. Today, in their desperation, the enemy is unmasked as Iranian missiles and drones rain down indiscriminately on the hotels, airports, apartments, and other civilian targets of their neighbors. Cowardly terrorist tactics from a regime that for decades has trafficked in cowardly terrorist tactics, lies, death, and destruction to this day. The Iranian leadership has built nothing except proxies and missiles and drones and deeply buried nuclear factories and facilities. Peaceful nuclear ambitions do not need to be buried underneath mountains. Last June, Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated their nuclear program to rubble. Afterward, we told them plainly, that's it, now make a deal. They arrogantly refused. We said, rebuild it, and we'll stop you again, this time far worse. Well, President Trump, Secretary Rubio, Steve Witkoff, Jared Kushner, they bent over backwards for real diplomacy, offering pathway after pathway to peace. I watched it. I was there. They tried over and over and over again earnest attempts at peace. The former regime had every chance to make a peaceful and sensible deal. But Tehran was not negotiating. They were stalling, buying time to reload their missile stockpiles and restart their nuclear ambitions. Their goal, hold us hostage, threatening to strike our forces. Well, President Trump doesn't play those games.
Can I ask a question?
And as Secretary Rubio said after the Maduro raid,
why do we have forces
if you don't know,
that they could strike?
Now you know. President Trump puts America and Americans first. He doesn't hesitate, and neither do our troops. The mission of Operation Epic Fury is laser-focused. Destroy Iranian offensive missiles, destroy Iranian missile production, destroy their navy and other security infrastructure, and they will never have nuclear weapons. We're hitting them surgically, overwhelmingly, and unapologetically. With every passing day, our capabilities get stronger and Iran's get weaker. We set the terms of this war, from start to finish. Our ambitions are not utopian. They are realistic, scoped to our interests and the defense of our people and our allies. Speaking of people, we hope the Iranian people take advantage of this incredible opportunity. President Trump has been clear, now is your time. To Iranian security forces, choose wisely. President Trump has also been clear about your fate in either direction. To the media outlets and political left screaming endless wars, stop. This is not Iraq. This is not endless. I was there for both. Our generation knows better, and so does this president. He called the last 20 years of nation-building wars dumb, and he's right. This is the opposite. This operation is a clear, devastating, decisive mission. Destroy the missile threat, destroy the Navy, no nukes. Israel has clear missions as well, for which we are grateful. Capable partners, as we've said since the beginning, capable partners are good partners. Unlike so many of our traditional allies who wring their hands and clutch their pearls, hemming and hawing about the use of force. America, regardless of what so-called international institutions say, is unleashing the most lethal and precise air power campaign in history. B-2s, fighters, drones, missiles, and of course, classified effects. All on our terms, with maximum authorities. No stupid rules of engagement, no nation-building quagmire, no democracy-building exercise, no politically correct wars. We fight to win, and we don't waste time or lives. As the president warned, an effort of this scope will include casualties. War is hell, and always will be. A grateful nation honors the 4 Americans we have lost thus far and those injured. The absolute best of America.
By the way,
may we prosecute the remainder of this operation in a manner that
there's a friendly
honors
fire incident
them.
in an American jet was
No
shot
apologies,
down by Kuwaiti air
no
defense.
hesitation, epic fury for them and the thousands of Americans before them, taken too soon by Iranian radicals. Before I turn it over to General Kane for the operational update, let me speak straight to you, the Joint Force, our warriors on the front lines. This is your moment. This is the generational turning point America has waited for since 1979, and since the rudderless wars of hubris my generation, our generation, endured. Don't listen to the noise. Just stay focused. Our commander-in-chief is steady at the wheel. We face a determined enemy, but you are better. But we must prove it every single day. History doesn't care if we're tired, if we're scared, or if the fight feels big. It demands warriors who rise anyway. Peace through strength, the warrior ethos, lethality, unity of purpose, those are not slogans. They're the beating heart of what it means to wear the uniform, that uniform. You think clearly under fire, you act decisively in chaos, you uphold the Constitution, and you uphold our country without hesitation. We are not defenders anymore. We are warriors, trained to kill the enemy and break their will. History is watching. Be the force you swore an oath to be, focused, disciplined, lethal, and unbreakable. We will finish this on America First conditions of President Trump's choosing. Nobody else's, as it should be. And know this above all, President Trump and I have your back, always. Through fire, through criticism, through fake news, through everything. We unleash you because you are the best, most powerful, most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. May Almighty God watch over you and his providential arms of protection extend over you. Godspeed, warriors, and keep going. General Kane, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary, and good morning, everyone. The purpose of my portion of the briefing today is to update you and the American people on the actions.
You're listening
taken
to the
thus far.
Operation Epic Fury live update here, live from the Pentagon. It's just breaking news, folks, and I'm going to let them talk, and then we'll comment afterwards.
So let's get started. On Saturday, 28 February at 01:15 Eastern Standard Time, 9:45 a.m. local Tehran time, on the orders of the President of the United States, U.S. Central Command, under the command of United States Navy Admiral Brad Cooper, commenced Operation Epic Fury. As I said, I'm going to walk you through the initial phases of the operation. But first, I want to express my deep condolences and the condolences of the Joint Force to the Department of War personnel killed and wounded in actions thus far. As the Secretary said, they're heroes and represent the best of our nation has to offer. They're true examples of what selfless service means. Our deepest and heartfelt condolences are with their families, their friends, and their units. We grieve with you, and we will never forget you. Additionally, I stand here before you today grateful for each service member, planner, logistician, operator across our joint force, for our Department of War civilians, our intelligence community teammates, our interagency teammates who continue to stand in harm's way alongside us. I am proud of all of you as you take the fight to the enemy, and we are the best in the world at integrating, period. I want to extend my personal gratitude to the dedicated commanders and senior enlisted leaders and the enlisted members of the Joint Force who are fighting this fight across the CENTCOM AOR. In addition to Admiral Cooper and Fleet Master Chief Compton, I want to highlight a few today. U.S. Army Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Pat Frank, who along with his team are fighting the counter-missile and counter-drone fight. United States Navy Central Command Commander Vice Admiral Kurt Renshaw and his team, who are engaged with the Iranian Navy and projecting American naval combat power from the seas. And United States Air Force Central Command Commander Lieutenant General Derek France and his leadership team, who are crushing Iranian targets from the air. I want to highlight the support to the CENTCOM fight from other combatant commands who are directly involved with this effort, to include U.S. Spacecom, U.S. Cybercom, and U.S. UCOM. I also want to specifically call out United States Transportation Command and U.S. STRATCOM for their contributions to this fight. We cannot project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing without both. And finally, I want to express how deeply thankful I am for the continued service and sacrifice of the entire Joint Force and their families. Their unwavering commitment and dedication are the cornerstones of this effort. So let me start with a few details. First, to be clear, as the Secretary said, this is not a single overnight operation. The military objectives that CENTCOM and the Joint Force have been tasked with will take some time to achieve, and in some cases will be difficult and gritty work. We expect to take additional losses, and as always, we will work to minimize U.S. losses. But as the Secretary said, this is major combat operations. So let me talk about the preparation and the planning. On February 28th, the full strength of America's armed forces came together in a unified purpose against a capable and determined adversary. The United States Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, Space Force, Coast Guard, and our reserve components integrated across our combatant commands and began coordinated operations with the Israeli armed forces of an unprecedented scale. As the Secretary laid out, our military objectives are clear. Our mission is to protect and defend ourselves and, together with our regional partners, prevent Iran from the ability to project power outside of its borders and be ready for follow-on actions as appropriate. Across every domain, land, air, sea, cyber, the U.S. Joint Force delivered synchronized and layered effects designed to disrupt, degrade, deny, and destroy Iran's ability to conduct and sustain combat operations. On the U.S. side, This marked the culmination of months and in some cases years of deliberate planning and refinement against this particular target set. From precision strikes against key military infrastructure to persistent intelligence and targeting integration to the close coordination of the components across vast distances, this operation again demonstrated America's reach, readiness, and professionalism, and that of our joint united force. It was historic not only in the operational scope, but in the level of joint integration displayed across every element of the joint force. And as I said earlier, this work is just beginning and will continue. So now to talk a little bit about setting the force and setting the theater. On the order of the Secretary of War over the last 30 days to reinforce deterrence and provide the President with credible options should action be required, the Joint Force began to systematically reposition assets and personnel across the region. These movements ensured that U.S. forces remained postured, protected, and ready to respond decisively for any emerging threat. This deployment included thousands of service members from all branches, hundreds of advanced fourth and fifth generation fighters, dozens of refueling tankers, the Lincoln and Ford Carrier Strike Group and their embarked air wings, sustained flow of munitions, fuel, supplies, all supported with command and control, intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance network. And the flow of forces continues today. In fact, Admiral Cooper will receive additional forces even today. This rapid buildup of forces demonstrated the joint forces' ability to adapt and project power at the time and place of our nation's choosing. I want to highlight a couple specific cases for you. The Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group, which many of you know was down in the Western Hemisphere, redeployed across the Atlantic to set the theater. The ship, her crew, their families, and the entire strike group took a deep breath and, as they always do, began planning to conduct combat operations. The integrated Reserve and National Guard forces have continued to demonstrate the value of America's reserve forces, including the Wisconsin Army National Guard operating in Kuwait and Iraq, and Air National Guard units from a variety of states to include Vermont and Virginia. In the case of the Vermont Air National Guard and the 158th Fighter Wing, they were mobilized for Operation Absolute Resolve and then were tasked to take their F-35As across the Atlantic instead of going home to be prepared to support this operation. The same is with our Air National Guard and Air Force Reserve Command tanker and mobility forces, who stepped right out of their civilian jobs to deploy and to protect the region. Lastly, I want to highlight the unsung heroes of warfare, our American logisticians and sustainment force, those who quietly work every day behind the scenes to project and sustain America's combat power. Our leaders from World War...
All right, he's getting ready to wrap up, and I think that you get the gist of it. This is just so baffling to me. Trump campaigned in 2015 on ending stupid wars abroad and starting new ones. You cannot just say that this is a combat operation and then say it's a war. But well, don't worry, it's not an everlasting war. This is not a war that's a never-ending war. With all due respect, Mr. Secretary, this is not a Chris Pratt movie on Amazon. It's not Tomorrow Wars. The United States is bombing and is conducting out a military operation on a sovereign country of 90 million people, and there was a regime change. This is the second time now in as many months. The Venezuelans were first, and now the Iranians. I don't know how many people or how many men are enlisted in the Islamic Republican Army, the IRA, and then the Quds Force, and in the various other Iranian guards. But, you had Trump sitting out there going, you need to lay your arms down, do it responsibly. If you fight, you're going to die. That tells me that you're going to have to, you can't win a war like that in a country that vast with airplanes. You just can't. We'll be back. Don't go away.
News, AI-generated slop hola. Isn't it great knowing that Crusade Channel News is still researched, written, and performed by actual humans?
Hey, what are you doing in here?
Oh no! Get your hands off of me! You chipped my chip.
Boys, break it up. Jeez.
Catch Crusade Channel News weekday mornings on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio the way it should be.
No AI was harmed in the making of this radio content, but we hope to next time.
Attention Coffee Police Academy students. We will now call the roll. CPA candidate Jones. Present. Joe Arabica Friday.
Present.
Tommy.
Oh, I'm here, sir. I just can't seem to keep my eyes open since I started drinking this Barrett Bargain Basement Stale Bean Water.
And just why are you violating CPA Coffee Code SPW1AM?
Well, that's easy. So I can save up money to get into the Coffee Cop Academy.
Son, breaking CPA rules so you can get into CPA is no way to become a coffee cop. Now, I am afraid we're going to have to...
Uh-oh. Sounds like Lou has found the academy. And he's on his second cup of Abbey Roast.
Well, what does he want?
He wants to know why the CPA didn't recognize his Rougarou nouns.
Rougarou nouns? And I'm the one that rejected his application.
Will Lou the Rougarou have his revenge and grind the coffee cop into espresso? Stay tuned to this station for our next episode. And in the meantime, order Abbey Roast Coffee at shop.mikechurch.com.
The Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Maria Filomena with your Saint of the Day. February 27th, Saint Gabriel of the Most Sorrowful Virgin died in the year 1862. Saint Gabriel of Our Lady of Sorrows, or Saint Gabriel Possenti, was an angelic young Passionist brother who, consumed with love and veneration for the seven sorrows of Our Lady, after extreme sufferings and weakened by tuberculosis, died of sheer love at the age of 24 in Isola in Italy. He had been a religious 6 years and was only in minor orders. He died at the same age as the Little Flower of Jesus, St. Elizabeth of Hungary, and St. Casimir of Poland. His life is a very interesting one and well worth.
The Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Maria Junipera with your Saint of today. Today's feast is the feast of Blessed Charles the Good. He was the son of Saint Canute, King of Denmark, and was called the Good because his outstanding Catholic virtues. He was martyred in a church in Bruges. Noted Catholic saints killed in churches by enemies of the faith include Saint Canute, father of Blessed Charles the Good, martyred at the foot of the altar just after he received Holy Communion. Saint Matthew the Apostle, who was martyred at the altar in Ethiopia for supporting Saint Iphigenia when she refused to marry her father's successor, King Hirtakus, after Saint Matthew had raised her from the dead and dedicated her with a group of young virgins to live the life of a nun. Saint Boniface, the Apostle of Germany, martyred as he started Mass. St. Thomas à Becket, the Archbishop of Canterbury in England, was murdered in his cathedral as he knelt at prayer. St. Anthony Daniel, one of the 8 North American martyrs who was tomahawked by Indians after he had received from his chalice the precious blood of Jesus. St. Stephen I, Pope, who was killed in the catacombs as he went to sit on his chair at the end of the Mass he had just said, "Blessed Charles the Good, pray for us." Thank you for joining us for this brief summary of the life of today's saint. Tomorrow's saints are Saint Cunegunda and Saint Catherine Drexel. To access all of our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and contribute to the building of our convent by visiting stphilomenaconvent.org. I'm Sister Maria Junipera, and until next time, God bless and Mary keep you.
Hey, Mick, yesterday's show wasn't enough. It's time to crack open another can of Mike Church Show whooping.
This guy just don't want to win, you know. He wants to bury you, he wants to humiliate you. He wants to prove to the whole world that it was nothing but some kind of a freak the first time out.
Hey, freak Freaks don't hear the rocky music before they leave satellite radio.
How about a Fresca?
The Mike Church Show. Weekday mornings on the Crusade channel. King-sized truth. From radio-sized speakers.
Chip inside her head gets switched to overload, and nobody's gonna go to school today. She's gonna make them stay at home. Daddy doesn't understand it. He always said she was good as gold, and he can see no reasons, 'cause there are no reasons. What reason do you need to be shown? Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't.
Well, I tell you why I don't like Mondays today, because there's another war, bomb, kill campaign going on. So Mike Church Show here, the Sultan of Sapientia, the Oracle of Optimism. I confess and profess to anyone that wants to know that I am as perplexed as you are. Who in the hell is the foreign power that's playing us like marionette puppets? I refuse. It is simply not possible for the barely elected leader of the government of the country of Israel to have this kind of influence over the American system of government. I mean, seriously. In partnership with this, if the Israelis wanted to wipe Iran off the face of the map, do it. They're already the most hated country in the world. And now you want to, and now you allow the United States to get dragged into this? My friend Arthur Bloom, you all know Arthur. I am not happy about this, and I think that this is a complete and total unforced error, and it gives everyone great pause, and it should, over what in the world is going on. And by the way, as Hegseth is ticking these things off that have been done, and then the next that have been done to the Iranians and to their infrastructure, and then saying that and there's going to be a regime change. We say to the people of Iran, take your government back. What do you think they're going to do if they do? Who gets to pay to rebuild a poor nation like Iran? Now, it's got oil. Obviously, it can build drones. We know that. Is it a world economic power? No, it's not. Yeah, but they got oil money. Okay. That's not enough. You can see what's going on here. Now, the United States is going to have to rebuild Iran. We're already having to rebuild parts of Venezuela. Now we got to rebuild Iran. I thought this was the Make America Great campaign. It's not to say anything about making the Iranians, the Persian mountains, great again. As the Wall Street Journal headline says, a guy that campaigned on the stupidity of foreign entanglements now has us entangled in two hemispheres now. You realize this. Finding a military exercise in Venezuela and now finding one all the way around the world. And the enormous amount of assets, the enormous amount of hardware. And by the way, the Iranians are still apparently in some control of their military because they're still lobbing rockets. And they're still trying to respond to the attacks. You know what that means? That means that the anti-aircraft batteries or whatever it is that we use. Now, there was some footage and some indication that the Israelis have some sort of Iron Dome laser. It literally is a laser that vaporizes incoming missile fires. Something they've been working on for a long time. I don't know that much about it, and apparently it was like double secret probation. But answer the primary question. There was a United States radar battery, I believe somebody sent me the story, that the Iranians took out. I think it was in Qatar. You know how much we paid for that? It's like $1.2 billion. Gone. It's gone. Speaking of obliterations, here, J. Arthur Bloom, an article of impeachment for President Donald John Trump for abuse of war powers. My old buddy Jack Hunter has this at the American Conservative. On the Iran war, they think you're stupid. And Jack says, and by the way, what was the part of Hexet's speech telling the armed forces to not listen to what they're being told? Is the seditious six? Are these illicit orders? You know, you had a Raisin Kane mention Admiral Cooper, who apparently is another one of these that wants dual citizenship in Israel. Apparently, Cooper carried out whatever orders it was that came from Hexeth or that came from Trump. Were there others that were questioning the legitimacy? You know, the War Powers Resolution doesn't say anything about this. J. Arthur. In the House of Representatives of the United States, articles of impeachment exhibited by the House of Representatives of the United States of America in the name of itself and all of the people of the U.S. against Donald John Trump, President of the United States, in maintenance and support of its impeachment against him for high crimes and misdemeanors. Resolved that Donald John Trump, President of the United States, is impeached for high crimes and misdemeanors, and here are the charges. Article 1, abuse of war powers and unauthorized military action against Iran. And then Arthur says in his conduct while President of the United States, Donald John Trump, in violation of his constitutional oath, faithfully to execute the office of President of the United States and to the best of his ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and in violation of his constitutional duty to take care that the laws be faithfully executed, has abused the powers of the presidency by unilaterally initiating military hostilities against the Islamic Republic of Iran without authorization from Congress, thereby usurping the exclusive power of Congress to declare war in Article 1, Section 8. This is the problem, and it has been. You know, I told back in 2012, 13, and 14, you know, John Boehner kept telling Obama, you can't do this. You can't do what you're doing. In Libya and in Egypt and during the so-called Arab Spring. And Boehner kept threatening, and Obama kept saying, I can do whatever I want under the War Powers Resolution. I'm elected, you're not. And Boehner kept threatening him with articles of impeachment. If you do it again, Mr. President, I'm warning you, we're going to impeach you. And they never did. Maybe had Boehner acted, that might have chastised someone like Trump. On or about February 27, 2026, President Trump ordered U.S. military forces in coordination with Israeli forces. How does that happen? How does that happen? Is there a treaty that exists where there's a treaty power that the United States has to join military actions or activities of the sovereign state of Israel because Israel says so? This is madness. In coordination with Israeli forces to conduct bombing strikes on Iranian territory. Can I tell you something else that I don't like about this? You can't take out an entire radical Islamic regime that you claim was raining hellfire around Earth with an air force. You can't do it. Can't be done. There's going to be, what are you saying? I'm saying that, like the Sicilian and the Princess Bride had it right. You just pulled one of the three classic blunders, the first of which is never get into a land war in Asia. How are you going to get all the rest of the Quds force in the Iraqi Republican Army, or the Iranian Republican Army, and whatever else murderous jihadi cells that they have there? How are you going to get them to stand down? You basically have an unarmed citizenry. The people of Iran aren't armed. It's not the United States. They don't have a Second Amendment. So how are you going to do it? Who has the weapons? They do. Well, how are you going to get it out of their hands? Strong language? Somebody is going to have to put what's called a boot on the ground. You heard the general raising Cain say, well, this is just beginning. Almost gleefully. This is just getting started here. Just getting started? Let me tell you. Going back to the Wall Street Journal, who is doing updates in real time. I'm just waiting for the markets to open. They open in about 15 minutes to see, is the Dow going to crash? It should. Are oil futures going to spike? They should. Are the Chinese and the Pakis and the Indians and the Japs, are they in danger of literally losing their connection to Middle Eastern oil? Maybe. Might even be likely. General Dan Cain says more troops on the way to the Middle East. It was said on Saturday that supposedly Marco Rubio went and visited with the Gang of Eight and told them that, look, this is going to happen, so you need to sign off on this. You need to say it's okay. So, do we have any soundbite on that? I don't think we do we? Well, Trump didn't say. You have... Well, of course, you have the usual suspects out there. Lindsey Graham, but I'll tell you what the Israelis are doing. We're going to take out the Iranians in their regime. Their regime is over. Play here. You want to hear a lunatic? Play digital media file number 12. This is billions, tens upon tens of billions of dollars that could have been used to make America great again. Now being used to, I don't know. What is the end game? What do the Israelis get in there? And we're going to have a democratic regime. I'm pretty sure that you're going to have a substantial portion of that population in Persia and Iran is going to remain Muslim. Are you going to force them to convert? What are you going to do? And if they're going to remain Muslim, well, then you're going to have a faction in your new democracy that is going to be hostile to any infidels, including Jews. That's just the way it is. Here, this is what madness sounds like.
Here's what I can say the headline is for me Sunday. The mothership of terrorism is sinking. The captain is dead. The largest state sponsor of terrorism, Iran, is close to collapsing. The leader of the largest state sponsor of terrorism and his inner team are dead. The mothership that fuels the proxies is in sinking mode. The goal of this operation is to change the threat, not the regime. When this operation is over, no matter who takes over in Iran, they will not have ballistic missiles to hurt us, Israel, or the region. They will not have the capability to be the largest state sponsor of terrorism, whether it's a cleric or a group of representative of the country where there's an election. It doesn't matter right now. Iran in the future will no longer be the largest state sponsor of terrorism. They cannot rain terror on the region. They cannot commit mass murder. That's the goal of this operation. Again, the mothership of terrorism is sinking. The captain is dead. Well done, President Trump. It's been the policy of this country for decades to eliminate this regime. President Trump did it. Admiral Cooper came up with a military plan that's unbelievable. We're not done yet, but when it is done, Iran will no longer be capable of being the largest state sponsor of terrorism. That is the goal, and that goal will be achieved.
So then we're going to fight them over there so we don't have to fight them over here. This is the same rhetoric from Bush. There's no difference. And by the way, do you think the Iranians are quaking in their boots knowing that the Vermont 85th is on its way? We have the Air Vermont 85th has been deployed. The Air Vermont? Did you know that Vermont had I didn't even know the Vermontians had a base. My old buddy Jack Hunter. Almost every major poll showed that Americans overwhelmingly did not want the U.S. to go to war with Iran prior to the attacks. Is again, neoconned. You've been neoconned. All of us have been neoconned again. Do you want Trump to end the current war, or U.S.-Iran war? Americans were not asked, hypothetically, do you want Trump to end the current U.S.-Iran war? Because few to no Americans perceive their country as being at war with that country, whether you are now. I mean, and for Trump to come out and say, well, they're going to be casualties, there have to be in these kind of actions. No, they don't. No, they don't. A Reuters Ipsos poll taken Saturday after the U.S. strikes and published Sunday found that only 1 in 4 Americans approves of the U.S. strikes that killed Iran's leader on Saturday, while about half, including 1 in 4 Republicans, believe Trump is too willing to use military force. The survey added some 27% of respondents said they approved of the strikes, while 43% disapproved and 29% were not sure. Here's Ted Lee Cruz rates.
From Iran. Hezbollah, 90% of their funding comes from Iran. The Houthis, 90% of their funding comes from Iran. This regime has killed nearly 1,000 Americans, and they were actively building. They were building 100 missiles every month. They had until President Trump took it out loud.
You know who else has killed nearly 1,000 Americans? General Motors. You gonna bomb them too? The Ford Motor Corporation. Well, they're not directly ticketed. They sold the cars. These guys are just, I feel like I'm back in 2010, 2011 and 12 with Obama and with the neocon cheerleading that went along with all of that insanity. And now you're going to have because now you've broken it. Now you busted it. There's no back, take back. You can't go back now. So now, we're going to say we're going to finish the thing. What does that even look like? The world has no knowledge of what the ancient country of Persia looks like as a member of the League of Nations, or the, what does Trump call the thing? The bank of, the Board of Peace. No one has any knowledge of this, because the Iranians. Let me just address something. If you disarm a population, and the Iranians were, and you seek to rule over them, one of the things that you might see in the cityscape, if you will, in Iran and Tehran are skyscrapers. Well, how do they get there? Well, apparently somebody's making money in Iran, primarily from the export of oil, of course. And as I said, they're one of the world's largest distributors or builders of drones. Not sure what else they manufacture there, but my point is there's 90 million people there. You had a somewhat functioning society. You had a large, at least partially cosmopolitan city in Tehran, because it doesn't have a bunch of mosques that you could see on the landscape, although I'm sure they're there, but it does have skyscrapers. So you had some sort of international business activity there. How then did the Ayatollah Khomeini and the Islamic Republic and the state that enforced him, how then did it gain control, and that how did it maintain control? Well, you can't say that everyone in Iran was opposed to the regime. That's just not possible. Secondly, do you know how Khomeini came to power? Because after Mossadegh was elected, the United States, the CIA, and MI6 basically deposed Mossadegh and installed the Shah of Iran. The people hated the Shah. Nobody liked the Shah of Iran. He was at best a Western toy. You know what? I'm looking for some answers here. Play digital. I want to hear Reza Pahlavi. Play digital media file number 4. Reza Pahlavi is supposedly the Prince of Persia. And so he was on 60 Minutes last night, and Scott Pelley was Xing him. Okay, what's going to happen now with democracy in Iran? And I just think it may be instructive that 60 Minutes had already scheduled the interview because of the unrest and the riots in the street. Now, the Iranian regime was going like, no, we're not going to have any of this. They stopped the protesters, obviously. No one knows how many of them were killed. No one knows. The only people that could possibly know that are in Iran. Anyway, here is Reza Pahlavi.
It is definitely a sort of earth-shattering event in the sense that when people identify the entire monstrosity of a regime that is depicted ultimately by the chief monster of these monsters, when he's gone, the minute such a personality disappears, it's like elation. It was like, oh my God, it has finally occurred. Maybe this is it. This is our chance now.
You call him a monster. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, ever since this regime has taken over, how many Iranians' lives have been lost? I don't think you can have an example of such level of atrocity ever in the history of Iran, or at least contemporary Iran, that has occurred under this regime. And this is all because of Ali Khamenei's insistence and persistence to keep himself and his mafia regime in power at the expense of the Iranian people. I don't know how else can you depict it other than being true monsters in the.
So I have heard other people use the language of the Iranian mafia. What's that? What's wrong? There's more Reza. What time is it? When we come back from the news timeout, I got more Reza Pahlavi. I'm actually going to throw a wild card next segment. You're not going to want to miss it. Stick around.
A Black Hat Studios media property. Broadcasting live 24/7 from Madisonville, Louisiana, and to the world via CrusadeChannel.com.
Hi, folks. It's Mike Church, founder of Founding Father Films, asking you to learn the true stories of America's founding by purchasing my movie, The Road to Independence, the movie. The Road to Independence tells the exciting story of the Founding Fathers' struggle to declare independence. Notice the reference Jefferson makes here to our federal connection, which in this instance is viewed by the sage of Monticello as an impediment to true independence. This supports Jefferson and later Madison's view that the federal system created by the Constitution contained the elements needed to endanger the hard. This animated movie comes complete with collector's booklets, DTS surround sound, and are packed with hours of bonus features. Learn the true stories of America's founding and order Mike Church's The Road to Independence on DVD and CD. Available now at mikechurch.com/DVD and by calling 844-527-8723.
Along the city streets you used to walk along with me, and every step I take reminds me of just how we used to be. Well, how can I forget you, girl? And there is always something there to remind me.
Broadcasting 50,000 kilowatts from atop the tallest radio tower on the planet. We are KRSD, the Crusade Channel, Madisonville. Well, it's what our call letters would be if we were on FM. Crusade Channel News. News you can trust.
Because let's face it, the truth just sounds different. Like a symphony of facts.
And now, from the Crusade Channel News Desk, here's Janet Huxley.
Hello, Crusaders. Welcome to Monday, March the 2nd, 2026. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk, live from the Dothan Farm and Ranch, south of Kansas City, Missouri. This report a service of the all-new Crusade Channel 2.0 app, the best way to listen to the KingDude ever. And installation is so easy. Open up a browser on your device. Go to crusadechannel.com/app, tap the download button, then open the app. It's literally that easy. Here's what to listen for this hour. Casualties are to be expected, says Trump. The president speaks with Middle Eastern leaders. UK, France, and Germany all ready to work with U.S. in partners to stop Iran's retaliatory attacks. Pope warns escalating Iran conflict could tip Middle East into irreparable abyss. An ancient city lost discovered with drones near famed tourist route. President Donald Trump said that U.S. forces do expect to take some casualties amid the joint U.S.-Israeli assault on Iran. He spoke yesterday about this during an interview with NBC News, following news that 3 U.S. service members were killed in action amid Operation Epic Fury. We expect casualties with something like this. We have 3, but we expect casualties. But in the end, it's going to be a great deal for the world, Trump said. U.S. Central Command says 5 more service members were seriously injured amid Iranian retaliation. There are many outcomes that are good, Trump said. But number 1 is decapacitating them, getting rid of their whole group of killers and thugs. There are many, many outcomes. We could do the short version or the longer version. Yesterday, meanwhile, our president spoke with the leaders of Israel, Bahrain, and the UAE, according to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. The U.S. Central Command said Iran has targeted a series of countries in the region, including residential areas in Israel, Bahrain, and Qatar, as well as airports in Dubai, Kuwait, and Iraq. Leavitt mentioned Trump was also briefed on the shooting in Austin, Texas, in which at least 2 people were killed and 14 others injured. German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and French President Emmanuel Macron issued a joint statement yesterday condemning Iran's reckless retaliatory strikes on their allies, which were threatening their citizens and service members in the area. We will take steps to defend our interests and those of our allies in the region, potentially through enabling necessary and proportionate defensive action to destroy Iran's capability to fire missiles and drones at their source, the statement said. We have agreed to work together with the U.S. and allies in the region on this matter. Our quote of the day, I will attempt day by day to break my will into pieces. I want to do God's holy will, not my own. St. Gabriel Possenti. And coming up, more of today's headlines. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for cappuccino holy roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Cappuccino holy roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com.
You can learn all about today's Saint of the Day and the Saint of the Day podcast at crusadechannel.com. Now look at more of today's headlines. Pope Leo XIV spoke out yesterday warning that U.S.-Israel airstrikes on Iran risk plunging the Middle East into an irreparable abyss. He urged leaders to halt a dangerous spiral of violence. The pontiff expressed deep concern over recent developments and called on nations to choose dialogue over war. Stability and peace are not built with mutual threats nor with weapons, which sow destruction, pain, and death, but only through a reasonable, authentic, and responsible dialogue, he said. According to Vatican News, faced with the possibility of a tragedy of enormous proportions, he said, I addressed to the parties involved a heartfelt appeal to assume the moral responsibility to stop the spiral of violence before it becomes an irreparable abyss. Meanwhile, Iranian airstrikes killed at least 8 Israelis on Sunday as Tehran's latest missile barrage landed miles from Jerusalem. An ancient city in Italy, complete with a forum and a theater, was recently uncovered alongside a popular tourist destination by drones. In a translated announcement this month, the Italian Ministry of Culture said the city was found at the archaeological site of Fiocaglia in Flumeri, Avellino, alongside the Appian Way, a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The Appian Way is roughly a 350-mile-long road that runs from Rome to Brindisi. With some parts dating back as far as 312 BC, the road was one of the most strategically important roads in ancient Rome. Officials said that the ruins were found with the use of drones led by a team of experts, and the findings confirm that Fiocaglia was a structured city equipped with monumental public buildings, reinforcing its historical and strategic role within the Roman road system, the release said. You're listening to Crusade Channel News. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Channel, seeking news and finding truth.
This is a pixel. I'm Groot. Now, if you put a couple of million of these guys together, you can make a sentence on an LED screen. Put a couple of billion of them together, and you can make a whole page. Put 360 billion of them, and you got Chesterton's book, Orthodoxy. But it doesn't smell like a book, and it burns teeny little holes in your cornea. So is the pixel really your friend? I'm Groot. No, but the Founders Trading Post is your friend, and we have actual books with actual smelly pages. Plus, our little bookstore has everything you'd expect. I'm Groot. Yes, Groot, to the gourmet coffee, but no to the One Tree Hill sappy guitar music.
Pick up a copy of G.K. Chesterton's Orthodoxy, plus many other Chesterton titles at shop.mychurch.com.
Research department of the Mike Church Show has learned that most people listen to this show because you want your truth neat, straight up, and never watered down.
Hey, look, mister. We serve hard drinks in here for men who want to get drunk fast, and we don't need any characters around to give the joint atmosphere. Is that clear?
And the best part about taking in 100 proof truth is you can drive at the same time. And you'll never get a hangover.
I'm so wasted!
The bar at the Mike Church Show opens every weekday morning at 8 a.m. exclusively on the Veritas Radio Network's Crusade.
The Titan of Tariffs. Mike Church Show here on a War Monday. Streaming live here on the YouTube channel. This is funny. Mike Church and the Pope don't know the first damn thing about the Iranians. You're right, I don't, and neither do you. And neither does anyone else. I know this. The U.S. Constitution should matter. War powers resolution should matter, and we shouldn't be running around the world bombing everyone back into the Stone Ages because, the people of Iran are going to be so much, they're dancing in the streets. So I had to be taxed, and American blood and treasure had to be spent so they could have a dance party in Tehran. Would have been having it easier to just pipe some MTV in there? Probably would have been cheaper. Amazes me the brainwashing that has soaked into so many people. I am not a Trump guy on this. This is basically a violation of a campaign plan. Oh, no, we're making the world safer. You know what may be going on here? Maggie, cue that video up where the dude explains the Straits of Hormuz. I want every one of you valuable listeners, even you cranks and trolls in chat rooms, to have all of the information that, or as much of the information and intel as you possibly can, so that you don't get fake news and you don't fall prey to someone that just wants the war, bomb, kill. Now, this guy in this video lays out how and why the Iranians control what's called the Straits of Hormuz and why it matters. Now, is this a back door with American blood and treasure to cut the Chinese oil off? Well, they cut the Chinese off from oil? Now, they can buy it from the Russians. I don't know if maybe there's not enough and you can't get it there in great enough quantities through a pipeline. I don't know. They do get some from the Russians, but this is what's at stake, okay? So is this an intended consequence or is this an unintended consequence of the action? Roll the tape.
If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, what impact will it have on the entire world, and which country will be affected the most? First, let's understand what the Strait of Hormuz actually is. It is a small area of just 33 kilometers located between Iran, Oman, and the UAE. It is a narrow sea passage through which almost 20% of the world's oil supply flows, nearly 17 million barrels every day. This oil comes from 8 countries located in the Persian Gulf, including Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE for the United Arab Emirates. Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and Qatar, 90% of their oil exports pass through this narrow route to reach the rest of the world. If Iran blocks the Strait of Hormuz, following countries will suffer the most damage. First is India, because it imports 85% of its oil, and 60% of that comes from Middle Eastern countries like Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, and the UAE. Fuel prices in India would skyrocket, and as a result, everything related to oil and all industries would face severe disruption. Industries could shut down, there would be job losses, and the economy would be severely affected. The second most affected country would be China. China is the world's largest oil importer, bringing in 10 million barrels of oil every day. 40% of China's oil imports pass through this Strait of Hormuz. Although China has built oil pipelines with Russia and Central Asia, they don't even fulfill 20% of its energy needs. So, if the Strait of Hormuz is blocked, China's economy could suffer a massive blow, and if China's economy is shaken, its effects will be felt all over the world. The third most affected country would be Japan, as it imports 90% of its oil, and 75% of that passes through the Strait of Hormuz. The fourth most affected country would be Saudi Arabia. 80 to 90% of Saudi Arabia's oil goes to the rest of the world through Strait of Hormuz, while only 10% goes to Europe via its Red Sea coastline. So if this choke point is blocked, Saudi Arabia's economy will be heavily impacted. Imagine that a country suddenly loses 80 to 90% of its revenue. What would happen to it? Something similar could happen to Saudi Arabia. There's also a high chance that Saudi Arabia might send in its military to reopen the route, and that could make the situation even worse. Fifth is Pakistan, which gets about 90% of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. This oil meets around 27% of the country's energy needs. So if the route is blocked, prices in Pakistan could rise sharply. But there's an interesting twist. Since Pakistan shares a border with Iran, and several government reports suggest that 35% of Pakistan's diesel comes unofficially from Iran. So if the strait is blocked, Pakistan might turn to Iran for oil, either quietly or through an official deal. Next in line is the UAE, because as nearly as 72% of its oil exports rely on this Strait of Hormuz. The country does have a backup option, the Habshan-Fujairah pipeline, which allows it to bypass the strait and export up to 60% of its oil. But for a major economy like the UAE, losing the remaining 40% would still be a serious blow. Next, Next comes the European countries like France, Germany and Italy, which on average get 10% of their oil through the Strait of Hormuz. A blockade here would hit them hard as well. Globally, experts warn that oil prices could soar past $150 a barrel, causing widespread inflation and possibly triggering a major global recession. So this small 33-kilometer area holds enough power to shake the entire world.
So, I don't know who made the video, but it's a great video. Very informational, very... and by the way, somebody asked Grok on X if he had his statistics correct. And Grok said that the statistics cited in the video were correct. So there you have it. Now, somebody else was saying the group is called the Prometheus Project. We're saying that, no, Trump is playing 4D chess here, and he's trying to bring about an end to BP. That the British market, the commodity exchange in London, is who sets the world, the global price of oil. And if British Petroleum can't get its Iranian oil any longer, or doesn't have control of it any longer, then the price of crude would then be set by whatever the U.S. is exporting here. I think that that the answer lies somewhere in the middle. But I still don't see, and I still don't approve, and I still don't appreciate that you're using the United States military in what is ultimately going to turn out to be a land war. This is, again, where are the cuts for? Where do they get their munitions? Where do they get their armaments? You know, one of the countries in the world that there's not an awful lot of intel that you get out of when you have an Islamic regime like they had is Iran. Now, is there any intel? Well, I suppose that there is. But how could you possibly know all of the inner and outer workings of this? And by the way, you know, I'm not the only one that's asking this question. John Daniel Davidson at thefederalist.com. We obliterated Iran's nuclear program, so why are we going to war? And he has in order the quotes. Last June, when the United States targeted Iran's nuclear facilities, for just a reminder here, Trump boasted that, quote, Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. He said on the day of the operation, which hit the enrichment facility at Fordow, buried under a mountain, as well as Natanz and Isfahan. Interesting that there was a post from, hold on, I just saw it a minute. International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, was saying that they didn't have any evidence that there had been a strike or that there was any radioactive activity going on at Natanz. Now, who's telling the truth? In the ensuing days and months, John Daniels says, Trump repeated this claim, saying that Iran's nuclear facilities and capabilities had been obliterated. Didn't he say it during the State of the Union? We wiped out, we took Iran. They're not there. They need to negotiate. They're at the table, but we haven't got a deal, but we obliterated their nuclear capabilities. Well, then why did we have to do it again? Did they have backups? He said the same thing in January multiple times, even claiming that we had obliterated Iran's enrichment capability. As recently as this month, Trump repeated the claim. Totally obliterated was the phrase that he used. So if that's true, if we totally obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities just 8 months ago, then why are we going to war with Iran over nuclear capabilities? And by the way, this is absolute nonsense here. This is child's play. Well, the Iranians could launch an ACBM and soon, and they are very close to getting the technology to launch one that could hit San Diego. American shores. Baloney. Even if you could do that, What the hell do you have satellites sitting up in low Earth orbit for? To monitor these things, you know exactly which, from what direction they're coming, and what direction they're heading, and what the heading is. You blow them out of the sky. Again, it's kind of nice having an ocean twixt us and the rest of the world. Got one on the east, got one on the west. Now the administration, John Daniels says, is suddenly saying something different. During a State of the Union speech Tuesday, Trump accused Iran of restarting its nuclear program and working to build missiles that would soon be able to reach the United States. Really? How is that possible? If we utterly destroyed their nuclear program in June of last year. The real disturbing thing is, what international cartel is it that has this, or cartels, this kind of power over the presidency? I know you're all screaming, it's the Jews, it's Israel, it's Netanyahu. Why would Trump risk his legacy and his presidency for the homicidal lunatic that is Benjamin Netanyahu? And for a government in Israel that is just barely hanging on and is ultimately going to be knocked out of power. Why? Why? That defies common sense. It just doesn't make any sense. Yeah, but they're dancing in the streets of Tehran. So the world's most expensive. Hi, America. What did you do this weekend? Oh, we threw a dance party. It only cost a couple of. Yeah, it only cost us $50 billion of military hardware, and a couple of Americans got killed, but they had a great time in Tehran. Some of you may die. Yeah. So is Trump, is President Trump playing Lord Farquhar now? Some of you may die. That's a chance I'm willing to take. So let me see if I understand this. So that they could dance to this. Oh, they got to dance to YMCA in Tehran. Yay! It's an Iran update.
Young man, there's no need to feel down. I said, young man, pick yourself off the ground. I said, young man, cause you're in a new town. There's no need to move to Cuba. Young man, there's a place you can go. I said, young man, when you're short on your dough, you can stay there. And
all right, everybody. Ostensibly, we're broadcasting in Tehran today.
It's fun to stay at the YMCA. It's fun to stay at the YMCA. They have everything for young men to enjoy. You can hang out all.
I think you get the point. So is playing YMCA on the streets of Tehran worth a couple of American lives and $50 billion in hardware? To see conservatives going, ooh, look, they're dancing in the streets of Tehran. Ooh, look, there's an Israeli flag next to the Iranian one. Yay!
Oh, it gets better. It's the Catholic thing to do, Mike.
Oh, there's a Catholic thing to do now. Oh, look, as I said, I'm not shedding any tears for the Ayatollah. For any Islamic regime or republic. Don't misunderstand. Oh, so you're sad that the Ayatollah... No, you idiot. John Daniel, and if we didn't actually destroy Iran's nuclear program, then what is the president going to come out, and when is he going to come out and admit it? I have to ask the question. There's a picture, because people like him pictures of what the war room looked like the other day. There's Susie Wiles, Marco Rubio, sitting at the table with Trump. Supposedly Stephen Miller somewhere in that room. When did Stephen Miller become a military analyst? When did Susie Wiles
unless she's making sandwiches.
Become a military analyst. The only reason that Susie Wiles should be there is because Trump needed a Big Mac. Says he get me a sandwich, I'm hungry. Just tell us the strikes weren't last June weren't as effective as we first thought, and that's why we're now giving the Iranians ultimatums now about how they need to destroy their nuclear facilities and abandon their enrichment programs. Remember, there was controversy last June when it was said that the Iranian that the nuclear programs were obliterated. Remember, me asking the question is, okay, wouldn't there be a radiological fallout? If you were actually developing a nuclear bomb and you were stockpiling or enriching uranium or any other kind of fissile material or radioactive fissile material, and you incinerated that with some sort of a conventional weapon, this is basically what they would call a dirty bomb. That's how a dirty bomb is made, basically. You build as big of a bomb as you can, and you try to get radioactive material in whatever form you can get it at, and you put it at the blast site. So you put the fissile material at the blast site, and then when the bomb goes off, then it does scatter radioactive material, but it's not a nuclear fallout, but that's basically the definition of a dirty bomb. Wouldn't they have made then, in conventional terms, dirty bombs if you blew up enrichment facilities? Well, that was no TKD because it was buried beneath the earth under 200 feet of lead and concrete. Okay. Well, and how would you know? How did you know that you got... We know that we got it because we had the Moab, the mother of all bombs. These questions are important because launching a war of choice against Iran is a big deal that we shouldn't undertake lightly, says John Daniel, and certainly not for murky or shifting reasons. Again, there is someone that is not an American that, cui bono, who benefits from this. Well, the United States ultimately, because we're going to put China out of business because they're not going to get any oil through the Straits of Hormuz. I'm pretty sure that the Chinese have an army too. And I'm pretty sure that the Russians have an army. So, by the way, what happened to the never-ending war in Ukraine? Not a peep. Maggie, what are the markets doing? I got the Wall Street Journal open. There should be a crawl. All right. Currently, the Dow is down 1% at 48,464. The S&P down 1.1%. The NASDAQ down 1.48%. The Shanghai is loving this, though. The Shanghai is up. What is the spot price of oil? Can you see what what oil is trading at? I don't have that particular commodity exchange pulled up. I'm just curious to see now. Greatest radio producer in the history of radio producers. We'll get that. Just updating you on the ticker tape on the Wall Street Journal. Oh, here it is. Oil prices surge, stock prices fall. Futures for Brent crude oil, the global energy benchmark, rose more than 7%. Gold is up. Now, why would gold be going up? Again, is this part of the larger plan to kill the dollar abroad and then make gold worth $180,000 an ounce? As Andy Schechtman explained to us on the program about 3 weeks ago. I'm just looking at the oil commodity. Oil prices surged and global markets slumped after U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran showed signs of sparking a widening conflict across the Middle East. You have a widening conflict now. You got the Saudis involved. You got the United Emirates involved because they got bombed. What's the list of how many countries were bombed? Was it 11 or 4? No, it's 14, right? Like the Iranians just went, launch everything. Somebody said France. It was 14. 14 countries were in total. France was bombed. France was, Italy was bombed. France was bombed. The UK was bombed. That's 3. United Arab Emirates, that's 4. Saudi Arabia, that's 5. Oman, that's 6. Qatar, that's 7. Kuwait, that's 8. What am I missing here? I said Oman, didn't I? Bahrain, that's 9. And there's 14 of them. Syria, I didn't get Syria. Iraq and Iraq. Syria and Iraq, okay.
I didn't get that. Could you try again?
No, Syria, I wasn't talking to you.
Okay.
That might be so, but it's incumbent on the administration to pick a reason and make an argument to the American people. You know, Trump going all the way back and saying, well, they invaded our embassy in 1979. Well, we all know that happened in 1979. We'll be back.
Channel, your news talk and Mike Church Show station. The King Dude rules the airwaves because the airwaves need ruling. Live, 7 to 11 a.m. Eastern on CrusadeChannel.com.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Monday, March the 2nd, 2026. This report is brought to you by the all-new Crusade Channel 2.0 app, the best way to listen to the King Dude ever. And installation is so easy. Open up a browser on your device. Go to CrusadeChannel.com/app, tap the download button, then open the app. It's literally that easy. In the market report, the Dow closed down at last close 1.05%. The S&P had slipped 0.43%, and NASDAQ had fallen 0.92%. In National Day calendar news, today is National Read Across America Day, honoring Dr. Seuss. It's also National Old Stuff Day, giving us a chance to notice all the old stuff and encouraging us to try something new. It's also National Banana Cream Pie Day, a traditional custard pie that was modified into a recipe that resulted in the flavorful cream pie we have now, dating back to the 19th century. It found its way into many recipe books. Our quote of the day: I will attempt day by day to break my will into pieces. I want to do God's holy will, not my own. St. Gabriel Pacenti. You can learn all about today's Saint of the Day in the Saint of the Day podcast at CrusadeChannel.com. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
Hi, folks. It's Mike Church, founder of Founding Father Films, asking you to learn the true stories of America's founding by purchasing my movie, The Spirit of 76. The Spirit of 76 details the true story of the writing and ratifying of the U.S. Constitution.
He is to be supported in extravagant magnificence, so that the whole of our property may be taken by this American government by laying what taxes they please, giving themselves what salaries they please, and suspending our laws at their pleasure.
This animated movie comes complete with collector's booklets, DTS surround sound, and is packed with hours of bonus features. Learn the true stories of America's founding and order Mike Church's The Spirit of 76 on a 2-DVD or 3-CD set. Available now at MikeChurch.com/DVD and by calling 844-527-8723.
It's the I Love Lee Show, starring Lee, with special guest Jim.
Come on, dude, pick up.
Jim's Bait Shop.
Very boomer funny of you.
Yeah, I thought so too. What's up?
What was the name of the live talk radio thingy? You know, that show with the holy guy you were telling me about?
Talk radio, holy guy. I'm sure I have no idea.
Yeah, the guy's name rhymed with Lurch. He was talking about being holy or something.
Talking about... Oh, you mean Mike Church. He's not trying to be holy.
Yeah, he's also not trying to fake being holy. Anyway, I just came from the Lila Rose 2-for-1 podcast promotion, and I didn't make a dent in one, much less get two, and I need something cool to listen to on the 6-hour drive I have coming up.
Well, the King Dude's got you covered there.
So, you got the deets?
No, but my dad had shingles.
Ugh, you're such a boomer! Deets, as in details, as in where and when do I find this guy?
I'm not a boomer, and his podcast is hiding in plain sight at this thing called a website at crusadechannel.com.
Crusade. Why can't he just have a QR code?
Want me to come over there and type that in for you, Zoomer?
The Crusade Channel 4.0, one of life's simple pleasures.
Yeah, like hearing a tree beginning its journey to the paper mill.
Like paper over plastic, some things like the Crusade Channel.
And good old-fashioned live talk radio.
Never go out of style at crusadechannel.com.
Speaking of out of style, Jim, we need to talk about your hair.
What's the matter with my hair?
The 80s hair metal band's called, and they want their style back.
Really?
The Crusade Channel knows what the remedy for the fall is. But we also know that we're not the remedy. We just promote and defend it.
Oh, really?
And because we have no O'Reillys and Lowers leering luridly on our airwaves, you can listen with your fair maidens.
Really?
Really? The Crusade Channel. Remedy-sized truth from radio-sized speakers.
Inside and out, and love strange, so real in the dark. Think of the tender things that we were working on. Slow change may pull us apart. When a life gets into your heart, baby, don't you forget about me. Don't
How you doing? The nuncio of non-intervention.
You stand above me. Look my way. Never love me.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, there is simply no way anyone that has ever listened to this radio talk show, TV talk show, for any amount of time would never think that I am on the side of foreign intervention and bombing foreign lands back into the Stone Ages or out of a nuclear age or whatever the case may be. There's just simply no way. And if you have been listening for any amount of time and you drew that conclusion, you need to go and have your hearing checked. It's seriously defective. Because that has simply not been a part of this program since I got cured from being a neocon like some of you back in 2007 and 2008. Just to say my church show that you're... No, dude, no. Never. Never, ever. And this is no exception here. Speaking of the bombing of the Operation Epic Fury, hear the bravado in the name, too. Operation Epic Fury. Yes, and the Vermont 85th is on its way. With the YMCA playing in the cockpit. Marco Rubio, an American and America alone at AM Greatness. What's this all about, Maggie? In 2 weeks plus since Marco Rubio delivered his address to the Munich Security Conference, the Trump administration's jack of all trades has been widely praised by conservative and independents. This is rightly so. Rubio was compelling, knowledgeable, vigorous, and reconciliatory, all at the same time. All of that notwithstanding, Rubio did make one very serious but very common mistake in his address, a mistake that blurs the distinction among factions in the West, and that in large part explains why the fate of our civilization rest on the actions and attitudes of America alone. He put it this way. This is what we are defending, a great civilization that has every reason to be proud of its history, confident of its future, and aims to always be the master of its own economic and political destiny. It was here in Europe where the ideas that planted the seeds of liberty that changed the world were born. You know, I have to part company with most people when you get to this part of the exercise, because I do not believe that the Enlightenment has been the boon to human flourishing most people think it was. Because, you know, what were people enlightened from? They were enlightened away from religion. The only people that stuck to their religion were the Muslims. The ones that began to run away from it were the Catholics. And the end result of that was the Protestant Revolution, the Protestant Revolt survived. The end result of that was the Anglican Church, and now all of the imposers or imposters that you have here in the United States, who are all out there seemingly simultaneously promoting this insanity, this horrid history that says that the Zionist history of Israel. And apparently this is what the guiding light is for Operation Epic Fury. That, well, the Iranians posed this grave threat. The Iranians did this. You know, as I'm hearing the Hegseth, Secretary Hegseth, and then General Raisin Kane, as they call him, as I'm hearing them talk, I'm like, well, why do we keep manufacturing terrorists? You know, there used to be this thing, you're not allowed to say this, but I would say it. And I interviewed Ron Paul, Congressman Paul, presidential candidate Paul, dozens of times. And Paul would talk about the CIA principle, what's called blowback, which is you do certain things and it causes other people to respond or other groups to respond. And one of the responses is, oh, yeah, you're going to do that in that foreign land where you don't belong? Well, here's what we're going to do. Then we're going to raise a group and call it Hezbollah or Hamas or Al-Qaeda, which, by the way, we seem to be running around thinking that we're innocent in all this. We're not innocent. If the United States hadn't meddled in Iran to begin with, there probably would be a flourishing democracy of some sort, kind of like what you see in the UAE and the other wealthy Arab countries. You know, who knows? You may have a Disney World in Iran by now. Where's the tallest roller coaster in the world these days? Anybody know? It's in the United Arab Emirates. It's 531 feet tall. You know how I know? Because we did a show the other night on great American amusement parks, and the United States lost the title of home to the world's tallest roller coaster because they have it in the UAE now. Now, we have some big ones here, but my point is that, well, they're building theme parks in the Arab land. You have this whole thing, this whole industry, it seems, where there are people that are going to places, they're going to vacation and talk in places like Qatar and what have you here, and all these other oil-rich countries in the Middle East. You know, Tom Cruise, what was Mission Impossible 6, I think, is in the world's tallest building, and it's in the United Arab Emirates, isn't it? And it's the ginormous building that I want to say he actually did that stunt. That he did that stunt, and that they showed or that they filmed it on or around that building, kind of like to kind of boast and brag that the UAE has arrived and it has this and all these other modern conveniences. And it's true, it does. My point is, they have some semblance of what, it's not complete. And quite frankly, I don't care. My point is, had we not meddled at the behest, look, we get into trouble because we listen to other countries and we treat them as though their problems are ours. It is not, to me, the history reveals that it was an English issue with the Iranians. The English and British Petroleum needed to keep a stranglehold on the production of oil in Iran. They couldn't allow it to be democratized because if they did, they'd lose. And so when the Iranians had the Iranian people, we're going to run around and talk about how much we love the Iranian people dancing in the streets to YMCA these days. Well, then maybe we ought to know a little history about them. The Iranian people were seeing other countries around the world get rich on oil, including Saudi Arabia. And wait a minute, we got oil. What the hell's going on here? And so they began to we don't have control over it. And so they elected a guy named Mossadegh. I forget who made that documentary that I used to talk about. We used to play clips of it. The dude would talk about Mossadegh and what happened, and that the MI5 and the British Crown came crying to whoever the president, I guess it was Eisenhower at the time, and conned Ike in deciding with the UK and deposing Mossadegh and installing the Shah. Nobody liked the Shah. The reason the Iranian people revolted was against the madness and was against the hated Shah of Iran. All right, I want to hear some more of Reza Pahlavi. You play digital media file number 4. Play number 5. This is Reza Pahlavi, who is supposedly the... how did he become the prince? It says prince. It said Prince Reza Pahlavi, doesn't it? Or is it... No, it's not king. I think he's prince. He's the opposition leader. But he's not in Iran any longer. Here.
You have been out of the country for nearly 50 years. Why would the people want you?
If they thought that was an issue, I don't think they'll be calling my name by the millions on the streets of Iran. I think that part of the reason people trust me only is because they cannot associate me in any way or form to the revolution or to be part of this regime. The very same people who today are in the streets, all the young kids that are getting shot and massacred by this regime, are a generation that turns to their parents and tell them, what the hell were you thinking? What was that madness to think that this Khomeini character is going to be our solution and our path to freedom? And look at where we are now. But from the day I left, I never left Iran. Iran had been on my mind every single year of my life, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing that is in my mind is Iran.
Okay, he is the son of a member of the Pahlavi dynasty. He is the eldest son of Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the last Shah of Iran, and his wife, the Empress Farah Diba, is described as the most prominent figure, blah, blah, blah. He was born in Tehran. Apparently, he flew American. Super high-tech jet fighters. Trained at Reese Air Force Base to fly super high-tech jet fighters. The next year, his father was overthrown and the monarchy was abolished by the Iranian Revolution led by Ruhollah Khomeini. We all know what happened there. In 1980, following the death of his father in Europe. This is the thing. There is like universal sentiment that, or seemingly universal sentiment, that the Shah of Iran was a good guy and was loved. Well, if he was, well, then why the Ayatollah? Why the Islamic Revolution? Pahlavi was doing the dirty work of British Petroleum, as I understand it, and was doing the dirty work of England to keep England propped up as a world global superpower and to keep British Petroleum pumping the oil out of the ground in Iran, basically not paying what they should be paying for it, and then importing it into the UK or wherever else it was. You know, if you look up the history of British Petroleum, why is it called British Petroleum? This is not there was not an American, there was not an entrepreneur from England that said, "Oh, I think what I want to do is I'll go to the Middle East and I will discover oil somewhere in the sands of Iran." The oil was discovered in the Saudi Arabian desert. You should know this. And look at these people were goat herders, literally goat herders. They didn't know how to build an oil derrick. What in the hell is the name of that darn movie? I cannot remember the name of that movie. It's a documentary, and it's all about this. And it shows what happened in Iran. And that, they built thousands of miles of pipeline infrastructure. So I'm going to find that documentary, and I'm going to rewatch it, and I'm going to update my facts so I have them on the top of my head. But I'm telling you, if the Shah was so popular, well, then why the Islamic Revolution, and why the installation, or why the election, or the installation, or the revolt, and then the coup, whatever you want to call it, that ultimately results in first it was Ayatollah Khomeini, and then the successor. Now you have Ali Khamenei, the one who's dead. Now I just saw a headline in the Wall Street Journal. Supposedly his wife has now been pronounced dead. That she was killed in the injuries that took out the Ayatollah. Is 60 Minutes propping this guy up? Reza Pahlavi? I think that the Iranian people would want me to come back. Why? They didn't like your dad, dude. They chose the Ayatollah over your father. You're killing your father, Larry. Play the next one. You went to the trouble of putting them together, so you might as well play them. Play number 6. This is 60 Minutes last night. Scott Pelley interviewing Reza Pahlavi. And again, Reza Pahlavi remains a political dissident, as he calls himself. And what he says is the rightful heir to the throne, the ancient throne or royal throne of Iran. Well, that's funny because the Shah was installed. Yeah, the Iranian crown prince rolled.
It's possible that this interview will penetrate the internet blackout, and I wonder what you say to the Iranian people.
Have faith in yourselves. You are a nation with an ancient civilization. I know how proud you are of your heritage, how important Iran is to all of them. And I always said to them, I said, you know what? I know you're always hoping for a better future. What I would like you to start doing, and I've started to answer my call, is instead of hoping, start believing that it can be done.
In 1953, Mossadegh was elected. You know what Mossadegh did? He nationalized the Iranian oil industry so that it would be for the benefit of the people of Iran. And then what happened is that the MI5 and I guess at that time would have been King, who was Queen Elizabeth's father. King wouldn't have been Elizabeth. Wasn't Charles? I think maybe it was Charles. Would have told MI5 to. Oh, it's George. That's right, King George. That's right, because Junk Bond has a liqueur named for King George. And then in cahoots with the CIA, they got rid of Mossadegh. And my understanding is that the Shah was then installed. And by the way, how did you get the first Shah? Reza Khan was supported by the British in a 1921 coup. So what the whole thing smells like to me, so it's not just the Israelis that are in on this. Which is why I think Keir Starmer came out with his statement. Yesterday, I spoke to you about the situation in the Gulf and explained the UK is not involved in the strikes. The UK may not be, but is BP. But play just a little bit of digital media file number 3. I want our listeners to just have all the information of what's happening out there.
Yesterday, I spoke to you about the situation in the Gulf and explained that the United Kingdom was not involved in the strikes on Iran. That remains the case. Over the last 2 days, Iran has launched sustained attacks across the region at countries who did not attack them. They've hit airports and hotels where British citizens are staying. This is clearly a dangerous situation. We have at least 200,000 British citizens in the region, residents, families on holiday, and those in transit. I ask all our people in the region to please register your presence and follow Foreign Office travel advice. I know this is a deeply worrying time, and we will continue to do all we can to support you. Our armed forces, who are located across the region, are also being put at risk by Iran's actions. Yesterday, Iran hit a military base in Bahrain, narrowly missing British personnel. The death of the supreme leader will not stop Iran from launching these strikes. Their approach is becoming even more reckless and more dangerous to civilians. Our decision that the UK would not be involved with the strikes on Iran was deliberate, not least because we believe that the best way forward for the region... All right,
enough of this blithering blabbermouth. The Iranian military, with the support and financial assistance of the United States government, overthrew the government of Premier Mohammad Mossadegh and reinstates the Shah of Iran. This is called the 1953 coup. Mossadegh, I don't know, there's dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of sources for this. I could have picked NPR of all places. This is from the History Channel, history.com. I know there's a documentary out there, and I'm going to find it. I will not rest today until I find it, and I will post it and publish it in tomorrow's Church Doctrine. So if you're not signed up, you need to go to crusadechannel.com/Mike and make sure that you're signed up for the Church Doctrine email newsletter. crusadechannel.com/Mike. Mossadegh came to prominence in Iran in 1951 and was appointed premier, a fierce nationalist. Mossadegh immediately began attacks on British oil companies. So this is what I was getting at earlier. So the woman that I was following, Maggie, if you go to my Twitter, the video that I retweeted Saturday, you'll see it. Barbara, oh gosh, what's her last name? Anyway, she's with the Prometheum group. I'm not sure of her conclusion, but I do think that there is that the English are involved in this, and it has something to do with British Petroleum, with BP. You people don't forget, especially my friends here in Louisiana, do not forget what BP did to us. Do not forget that these limey bastards installed, it's the world's greatest deep water horizon oil platform, 5,000 feet down, and it's going to be great. And they're going to get all this oil out of the Gulf of Mexico, and then it blew up. 20 some odd million barrels or gallons of oil hit the shores of Louisiana. You remember Bobby Jindal was governor? And Jindal was about to call out the Louisiana National Guard and have them arrest Obama's federal goons who were preventing the great people of the state of Louisiana from hiring Kevin Costner, for one thing, to surround the oil spill and to take it back out to sea so it couldn't destroy the oyster beds and the reefs of Grand Isle and Empire and basically the southern coast of Louisiana. Remember Obama flew here? Remember, Jindal was about, and I was talking to Bobby, and I'm like, Governor, you got to do this. I know that Bobby was listening to me. I said, you have the constitutional authority. You've got to protect it. Obama saying that you can't protect our coastline is absolute baloney. And Bobby was about to do it, and then Obama flew here and talked him out of it or conned him out of it. And tens of thousands of Louisiana fishermen and oystermen were disemployed for half a decade because the oil destroyed the oyster beds. It destroyed them. Did you find that video that was on my X? Okay. 844-527-8723 is our call and line telephone number. And again, I'm reading from the History Channel because this is, I just want to get a little more deeper into this. Hang on. Okay, just a little bit more of the history, then we'll play just a clip for because the video is 15 minutes long. You can watch it on your own. Working with Shaw, the CIA and British intelligence began to engineer a plot to overthrow Mossadegh. The Iranian premier, however, got wind of the plan and called his supporters to take to the streets and protest. At this point, the Shah left the country for medical reasons. While British intelligence backed away from the debacle, the CIA continued its covert operations in Iran. Working with pro-Shah forces, and most importantly the Iranian military, the CIA cajoled, threatened, and bribed its way into influence and helped to organize another coup against Mossadegh. On 19 August 1953, the military, backed by street protests, organized and financed by the CIA, overthrew Mossadegh. The Shah quickly returned to peg power and, as thanks for the American help, signed over 40% of Iran's oil fields to U.S. companies. Mossadegh was arrested, served 3 years in prison, and died under house arrest in 1967. The Shah became one of America's most trusted Cold War allies, and the U.S. economic and military aid poured into Iran during the 1950s, 60s, and 70s. In 1978, however, anti-Shah and anti-American protests broke out in Iran. In other words, the people of Iran did not like American meddling. They revolted against it in 1978. Anti-Shah and anti-American protests broke out in Iran, and the Shah was toppled in 1979. Militants seized the embassy and held the American staff hostage until January 1981. That's right, because Reagan was going to go get them. Nationalism, not communism, proved to be the most serious threat to U.S. power in Iran, and that was how it happened. Now, this what's her last name, Maggie? Barbara. I don't have the video. I can pull it up.
Minimize it. Barbara Boyd.
Boyd. Okay. She's with a group called the Promethean Group. I just thought this was you want a different take? Well, here's a different take on what is happening.
The bombs are falling on Tehran right now. This morning, the United States and Israel launched major combat operations against Iran. And while every talking head in the Western world is screaming that this is Iraq 2.0, listen to what the president actually said to the Iranian people.
To the great, proud people of Iran, I say tonight that the hour of your freedom is at hand. When we are finished, take over your government. It will be yours to take. This will be probably your only chance for generations.
Take over your government. It will be yours to take. That is not the language of regime change. That is not Iraq. And people screaming that are either lying to you or they don't understand what they're looking at. Right on cue, the New York Times editorial board is out shrieking that Trump is a madman who promised no new wars. The anti-war crowd on both sides is screaming regime change. They're all wrong.
I'm just screaming unconstitutional stupidity.
This is not Iraq. Iraq was about installing a new set of imperial puppets. What Trump just hit is the last stronghold of a British operation that has controlled Iran's destiny since 1908, the year British Petroleum seized its first oil well on Iranian soil. For 118 years, every government in Iran, the Shah, the Ayatollahs, has served the same master, a financial architecture built by the City of London around Middle Eastern oil. And every war in that region has been designed to protect it. Donald Trump has spent the last year dismantling that architecture piece by piece. The Abraham Accords, the Board of Peace, $2 trillion in Gulf wealth redirected from London to American manufacturing, the Muslim Brotherhood designated as terrorists, Gaza being rebuilt. The mullahs were the last piece on the board. And as of this morning, Trump is clearing it. I'm Barbara Boyd. I followed and studied wars in the Middle East ever since the Khomeini Revolution in 1979. And my colleagues at Promethean Action have tracked the British Empire's financial operations for over 50 years. So before I go even further, please like and share this video. It helps us break through the algorithm.
If you want to watch the rest of Barbara's video, I thought it was interesting. I'm not sold that she is actually onto it. But I am convinced that Keir Starmer is out there because he obviously has an interest in this. With the UK, he has to do that. No. What Keir Starmer basically said was, Trump is doing this, and I don't want to go against Trump. So let me just assure you that this is a good action that's going to benefit. But he's also kind of like giving himself kind of an out by basically holding out that, well, I'm not sure how this is all going to play out, but let me reassure the people of the UK. I can tell you how it's going to play out, and I can tell you what's going on here. You and previous British leaders have so stupidly, sheepishly, and foolishly refused to develop your own oil resources or have made it almost illegal to go after your own oil resources on your offshore oil field called the North Sea. Now, they do have some presence there, and there has been some exploration, but it's wildly expensive, and there aren't a lot of companies because it's a hostile environment. It's the North Sea. You could be out in the middle of the North Sea. One day it would be calm, and the next day you could have 28-foot swells. I'm not making this up. Where's that show that we watched about the drilling in the North Sea? And that dude was saying, people have no idea how dangerous this is. And this is why oil field workers that are on rigs in the North Sea is one of the reasons why they have to build them 100 feet off of the floor of the North Sea or off the floor of the the level of the water, is so they don't get so that the waves don't crash over the top. In any event, British involvement in Iran and American involvement in Iran is what previously happened and what has been happening in Iran. The ridiculous idea that there's some sort of a democratic revolution that's going to go on and Reza Pahlavi is going to ride in on his white horse and that the people of Iran didn't want his father. So I don't pretend to know what's going to happen, but I can tell you this. There are trillions of dollars at stake, and they're not just going to let some Tom, Dick, and Harry. Look, has Pahlavi just been patiently biding his time? It just stinks like a covert operation, doesn't it? All of a sudden, oh, look, we have a handsome, well-polished Iranian politician who's ready to just move in and take over. And is assuring the people of Iran, yes, we want Pahlavi. Why do you know they're not plants? I'm not buying it. All right, if it was all, play digital media file number 7 then. If it was always going to collapse, why didn't they know that? I mean, by the way, why couldn't the Israelis just do this on their own?
Thank you.
Why did they need, and again, Trump's playing 4D. I think that this one, look, follow the oil. I think it's follow the oil. Yeah, I know Trump hated the Ayatollah. I know that. But follow the oil. Venezuela, now Iran. Two of the largest, most fertile oil fields on earth are basically now in U.S. control. Soon, Trump to address Iran at the White House. We'll carry it live here on the Crusade channel. Here's another from Pahlavi, and I'm telling you that the Murdoch propaganda outlet, that is Fox News, is all over this particular angle of the story, which is what gives me pause. I don't know who it is that's running CBS these days. It's not the Murdochs. But again, Scott Pelley gets the interview with Reza Pahlavi because of the agitation in the streets of Iran, which Trump kept talking about and talking about and talking about. Were they planning this we're going to go in there and we're going to have American bravado and we're going to save these protesters with bombing here.
This is video overnight after the announcement of the death of the Ayatollah in the city of Isfahan. What does that mean to you?
That means that finally we are ready to go back to the streets, even though I've cautioned them that for now you better take care of your own safety and stay at home. The time will come to go back on the streets. But then again, you see that despite that, people still are brave enough to say to hell with it. Because to us it's liberation. To us it's like a humanitarian intervention to protect lives that could otherwise continue to be lost. It gives the Iranian people a real opportunity now when they see the end of this regime that was always bound to collapse, whether there was an intervention or not. I want to make sure your audience understand that we were prepared to fight the fight. There was too much blood between us and this regime. We were committed to fight regardless of outside intervention. They're thanking President Trump for actually standing on his word and acting upon his word.
Do you actually believe this regime could fall after almost 50 years?
Of course.
That's just very, very convenient, don't you think? You know, again, Jack Hunter makes a point. They think we're stupid. This isn't the Mike Church show that I signed up for. Like hell it isn't. Make America great again. America first. Did you catch that Pete Hegseth went out of his way to mention that this was an America First operation? Did you catch that? Went out of his way. Let me be clear. This is an America First operation here, and the president has only the interest of the American people. And I'm sure that there are some Americans that are going to benefit from this. The military-industrial complex, dude, they are popping. They are drinking Dom today. The military-industrial complex is back. Israel is firing all of the recently acquired from the United States munitions, whether they purchase them or not, that they can't make. We couldn't make them fast. Remember Trump saying that, look, we don't have enough bombs. The Ukrainians have run out of bombs because they couldn't get any from the UK, and the UK couldn't get any from us because we can't make them fast enough. Well, the Israelis just shot their load. They just shot their wad. They just blew every piece of munition that they had, or they're blowing it. Who's going to replace that? You and me. The vast military-industrial complex is going to be revved, and it's going to be fired up and roaring back to life. Don't worry, Mr. President, we can make all the bombs that you need to make. We got this covered. Again, making weapons of mass destruction is not a productive industry. It destroys. Well, think of it like this, though. What a great industry to be in. All you have to do is having a willing government that is willing to either sell to people that will use them, or the government itself is willing to use them. And so you have a built-in market and a built-in clientele that there is no force on earth that seemingly can stop it. You'll never, until you run out of demand. How would you run out of demand? They run out of demand because the war's ended. But, you know, as that little brief history that I shared with you about the Shah and about most of the Deke shows, it's the United States that is the great destabilizing force in the region, not the Iranians. You have to wonder what would have happened. You know, the Saudi Arabians went a different direction, and they kept basically their king, right? The Saudi royal prince is actually a Saudi royal prince. Isn't this all starting to make just a little bit more sense now when you consider the Trump tour of Arabia last year? You remember this? Remember, he went to Saudi Arabia, he went to Qatar, he went to United Arab Emirates, he went to, where was the other one? He went to, there was like 5 places he went on this tour. Each one of those places where he went has subsequently been attacked by the Iranians. Each one of those places on that tour is now returning fire. Each one of those places that he went on that tour, with the exception being Oman, now has to basically join the effort because they have to reopen the Straits of Hormuz. So now they have to be. They got it. So now the Middle Eastern countries that export the oil have to be drawn in because they can't get it out if they don't have the Straits of Hormuz, which the Iranians currently have closed. Isn't that convenient? And so it just seems to me that it's too convenient. See, Jack Hunter on the Iraq War, they think you're stupid. No, Trump just started a war with Iran in which there will be life and death and political consequences to which little thought seems to have been given. But make no mistake, this is a new regime change war of choice, which most Americans didn't want, was started by Donald Trump, and will only end God knows how. So our old buddy, the former Southern Avenger, Jack Hunter. Anytime that they say when Trump is going to speak from the White House, because I will carry it.
It's at 11.
Oh, it's at 11? Okay. So we will, when news breaks out, we will break in on this. I think we played most of... Played your Lindsey Graham. You don't want to hear that. Play digital media file number 11. Brian Mast on with Maria Bartiromo yesterday. Is there anyone out there that's asking the questions that your kind, humble host is asking? No. They're all just a bunch of jingoists. They're all just a bunch of homers going like, yay, they played YMCA in Tehran, yay. They were dancing in the streets in New York City with Iranian flags, yay. I'd rather than be dancing in the streets of Kansas City with American flags. Why don't you? This is a sickness. This we have to be the world superpower. Why? Why? Here, Mast.
You have, of course, the head of the United Nations, the Secretary General, who's lining up against America in support of the Ayatollah and the existing system. And the fourth one, while maybe not surprising but very troubling, is most congressional Democrats. As you brought up, they're going to line up next week and say, we don't want the president to have any authority to defend the United States of America against the imminent threat of Iran. Yeah. So imminent that even just a year and a half ago, they killed 3 U.S. service members in Jordan and everything else that they've done since then. You have a...
why were 3 U.S. servicemen in Jordan? That's what I want to know. Congressman, can you even find it on a map? Why? Well, the Democrats aren't going to do this for the right reason. The reason that you should do this is, you can't start wars without congressional approval. Article 1, Section 8 is pretty clear. No, they have the War Powers Act. The clause in the War Powers Act is, it's just vague enough, but look, nations go to war. They did this in 2003 with Iraq. Bush did this. Cheney did this. They had the whole big hoop-de-doo. There's no statesman left in the House of Representatives, no statesman left in Congress, so they had this big hoop-de-doo that, they had the vote on letting Bush just say, okay, dude, you can just use the War Powers Resolution, but we have to approve of your use of the War Powers Resolution. So back in 2003, that's basically what they did. That has not happened in this instance here. Was there a vote? There was a vote. I didn't see it. So Scott Jennings was on the cheer train. I didn't hear the soundbite. All right, here we go. What does Scott Jennings have to say about this?
It is going to have some impact on the economy of China, because that's where they get their oil, from Iran. And what we did in Venezuela, what we did in China, and what we did in Iran has as much to do with China, I think, as anything. I also want to say,
I think that's
may
probably
God rest the souls
correct.
of those troops, but they died in a noble cause. And as Buddy said, 47 years, Americans are dead, the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world. I totally disagree with you about the threat not being imminent. I spoke to very senior administration officials yesterday. They believe that the Iranian regime was about to fire ballistic missiles, not at the United States, but into U.S. military bases and civilian targets. They were going to attack Israel. They are already attacking other Gulf states.
You can't make the case back then. Apparatus has assessed that there was not an imminent threat.
I know. My guess is I've spoken to higher-ranking officials than you. On the uranium enrichment, the United States offered them free, unlimited, lifetime, civilian-grade nuclear fuel. They said no. They had given us the runaround about their intentions on enriching uranium for military purposes. How long do you want to wait? Death to America? Death to Israel? How long do you want to wait? We waited 47 years. We have crossed every red line. Every president says they want to do something about it. Only Donald Trump had the guts to do it. You said you're not shedding any tears for the regime, but you appear just not to like Donald Trump enough to be mad about it. This is a good thing.
Let me just say, I like Donald Trump. I voted for Trump. I tell you all the time. As a matter of fact, I defend him against all manner of stuff that I see in here, where people go, "Yeah, Trump did." I'm like, okay, well, you got to wait a little time. Let this work. I'll let that work out here. This is different. This is different. Now, is there something again? Is there something that is developing behind the scenes? Is there something developing behind the scenes? Well, of course there is. But what is the end goal? If Jennings is right, and as I said, I think this is all about oil. And again, the world is about to enter another war for oil. And for the U.S. to control more of the supply. It would be detrimental to the Chinese for this. You don't want the Straits of Hormuz to be closed. That's just stupid. Besides the fact, why should the United States and British Petroleum and the UK and whoever else be given a carte blanche right to, look, you got allies over there. The Saudis are your buddies. They're our friend, right? Well, if they're your friends, what are they going to do with their oil? 80%, you saw the video earlier, 80% of Saudi Arabian oil leaves that country on ships that go through the Straits of Hormuz. Let's see. And then these people have to get past their dislike of Trump. And then we have a Clinton statement from Friday. You have to play just so I can work on my impersonation. Number 17. Well, let me tell you, I was in there. There were some pretty hot ones in there. I didn't see nothing. I didn't do nothing. I barely knew Epstein. I never got in the pool with him half naked. No, that's just not me. That's Photoshop.
I just finished testifying in front of the House Oversight Committee. I did it for two reasons. First, I love my country, including our Constitution. And America was built on the idea that no person is above the law, even presidents, especially presidents, and that we should all live under the same set of rules. This kind of democracy requires every person to play their part. And I hope that by being there today, we can bring ourselves just a little further away from the brink and back to being a country where we can disagree civilly and we can search for truth and justice, and that it outweighs the partisan urge to score points and create spectacle. The second reason I was there is that the girls and women whose lives Jeffrey Epstein destroyed deserve not just justice, but healing. They've been waiting too long for both.
I think he needs a shot of the
My brief
AC.
acquaintance with Epstein ended years before his crimes came to light. And though I never witnessed during our limited interactions any indication with what was truly going on, I offered the little I do know in the hopes that it would help prevent anything like this from ever happening again. I also have to say something personal. Republicans made Hillary testify yesterday, and she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, nothing. She has no memory of ever even meeting him. She neither traveled with him nor visited any of his property.
But you did.
So whether 10 people or 10,000 people were subpoenaed, including her, was simply not right. So here's what I told the committee. First, I had no idea of the crimes Epstein was committing. No matter how many photos they show of me, I have two things that at the end of the day matter far more than any interpretation of 20-year-old photos. I know what I saw, and more importantly, what I didn't see. And I know what I did, and more importantly, what I didn't do.
What I didn't do. I didn't
I
inhale.
saw nothing, and I did nothing wrong. If someone who grew up
Stop
in
the
a
tape. Wait. As far as Hillary goes, you may want to go and see. I didn't see you shedding any crocodile tears when Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. and Tiffany Trump and Ivanka Trump were all given subpoenas. They were forced to testify. And they had absolutely nothing to do with the Russia hoax. I didn't see you shed any tears for them. Secondly, with the according to your buddy Ted Lieu, you were at an event that Epstein was at, and Epstein was committing crimes. You had any relationship with him, you're tainted, buddy. According to Ted Lieu, well, we know that Donald Trump has been accused and there's been alleged. I got to tell you, American politics and American government is terrible. I thought it was getting better under Trump, and then all this stuff happens that we are talking about here today. You have the specter here of people that commit crimes in broad daylight, and nothing is ever done to them. Well, Operation Epic Fury rages and rolls on here. Bombs are falling out of the sky and on Iran, and the entire Middle East is a powder keg now. And this coming from the Make America Great Again, America First crowd. Yeah, there's nothing like a little war, though, to get people's attention off of other things that aren't going right. And then people are going to forget this is all the other issues that we were talking about last week are now on the back burner, if they're on any burners at all. Golly. Let me. This from the Gulf states say they've shot down more than 1,500 Iranian missiles and drones. This is from the Epic Times. 5 Persian Gulf nations and now this is the other thing. Well, why do we have bases in the Middle East? Well, we all know why. It's there to protect the supply of oil. It's there to make sure no one gets too rich and that Americans get rich off of the transport, the extraction and transportation and sale of oil that comes from the Middle East. That's why. It's the deal that was made. You're going to have military troop presence over there. Why would the Saudi Arabians allow American Air Force bases? Well, for the same reason that we sell them Air Force planes. We sell them F-A-35s. The UAE's forces that battled Tehran-backed Houthis in Yemen has borne the brunt of the Iranian attacks. While numbers are fluid and reports timelines varied as of 6 p.m. on March the 1st to 2:30 a.m. March the 2nd in Iran. The UAE Ministry of Defense reported it had knocked down 165 ballistic missiles, 2 cruise missiles, more than 540 drones. Did you see the video of the American
Super high-tech jet fighters.
American super high-tech jet fighter that had an Iranian missile chasing it, and then it was flying away, and it was dropping countermeasures. As it was dropping countermeasures, the thing just kept closing in on it. And then, I don't know if the video is real. It looked real to me. And then it went into an epic climb. And then that's how it finally got it got rid of the bogey that was on the tail. It was, as far as the video evidence of that or what happened, that was and again, I'm sure somebody's going to say that was an AI. I don't think that was an AI video. I do know this as well, that Kuwaiti air defenses shot down an American aircraft. 6 people, 6 of our guys parachuted out to safety, and supposedly no injuries. We have that. What else do you have? Let's see. Poland plans social media ban for under 15s. We had that. Suspect identified in Austin, Texas. Bar shooting left 2 dead, 14 injured. Why are there so many Muslim men in the United States that are murderers? Mass murderers. This lunatic planned to kill more people because he was a bad shot. People survived. Daji Diagne, a Senegalese national and naturalized U.S. citizen living in Pflugerville, according to 4 law enforcement officials. 53 was the perp. Officer shot and killed him shortly after the rampage. Authorities said they were still working to determine a possible motive. He had a Property of Allah sweatshirt on. Let's see what else. Did that. I think that we covered. Look, Trump is going live at 11. That is 10 o'clock our time. When he goes live, when news breaks out, we will break back in here on the Mike Church Show. Shop in the store. We got that brand new Capuchin Holy Roast New Orleans blend coffee. By the way, I got a new set of people that love the coffee, and that was the sisters, and the Beast and Butt Rub, and the Chicken Mamu, and a Acadiana steak seasoning or seafood seasoning. The sisters were two of the sisters like, this is the best coffee I think I've ever had. Mike Church's Capuchin Holy Roast New Orleans blend now available. Shop.mikechurch.com. Look, when Trump breaks out, we will break back in here on the Mike Church Show on your Crusade channel, on the app and everything. We'll broadcast it live when it occurs. The Dow is down right now. It's a 0.5 percentage point. I think this is what's much ado about nothing here. No, the markets are good. We'll wait and see for the fallout. I am going to remain in investigation mode for the remainder of the day because there's a lot of stuff that I want to facts that I want to check and to make sure that we get the history of all this correct here. So keep it tuned here to the Crusade channel and to the Mike Church Show for the very latest. Again, when Trump addresses in 40 minutes or so, we will carry it live here, and you can tune into the Crusade channel and on the Crusade channel app to catch that. Have a safe and blessed remainder of this Monday. Thanks for listening. We know you have a choice in listening and watching, and you chose us. And thank you so much for that. Thank you for getting us over the $5,000 fundraising goal last Friday. Thanks to all of you that made your contributions and donations. You can still donate Again, there were significant costs associated with doing all your donations and your crowdfunding online because of the credit card fees. So crusadechannel.com/donate. When news breaks out, we break in. God bless you and Merry keep all of you.
On his side, the liberals can run, but they'll never hide. He's a friend of Mr. Madison as he fights all leftisms. He supports our troops over there, stands up to the kooks from care. He's the KingDude of the nation of doom. Red, white, and doom nation.